Welcome, misfits, to this episode of Midnight Ranting. Should evolution be taught in public schools? Tonight, we talk creation versus evolution, religion versus science, Mario versus Luigi. Well, probably not the last one. Nonetheless, won't you join Atheist Jr., James W., and myself for some fun skeptic style?
Hovind style.
Woohoo! I want to thank everyone for joining us out there on the inner tubes. If you're feeling fancy, don't forget to like, subscribe, follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. We're a skeptic channel, but at the back half of the show, we'll be opening up the floodgates for our open mic portion of the podcast, meaning anyone can come join us and say what's on their mind. We'll also give everyone the chance to have their own opening and closing statements, atheist or theist, liberal or conservative, come as you are, just not on the sheets. You can also find our Patreon page at patreon.com/Amy Newman, which helps us make more awesome content, including awesome Patreons like K.O. Champ and Oz from the Atheist Round Table, but also Ian Davenport and a grumpy old cuss. But Diana Smith, woohoo!
What a cadre of misfits that you got there.
Know.
And there's a new one, yeah.
But not least, welcome Nick Satar. Welcome, Nick. Sending hearts out to you. And so don't forget to hit that all button icon so you can get reminders to see our premieres or join our live streams. And with that,
that's like the A-list of hell.
I know. We're starting to build a beautiful timeshares out in hell. Lake of the Damned. It's just wonderful at night.
Lakeside.
Right by where God tortures all the non-Christian babies for his own glory.
Amy lives down by a river in a van.
Yeah.
Yes, also that too. And okay, should evolution be taught in public schools?
No.
Yes. No, Mama David. The fact that genes randomly mutate and the environment naturally selects them should be taught in public schools. That's because, like gravity, evolution is a force of nature grinding down on every life form it comes across. This subject, like a flat earth, shouldn't keep coming up, but here we are. And why? Religion. Ah, yes, religion. And not all religious folk, but the institutions of religion have run amok, trying to defend a literal interpretation of their holy book. This is where we get a 6,000-year-old Earth and the Flintstones being a documentary. We should skip this step entirely. Religion should be religion. Science should be science. And currently, evolution is the backbone of modern biology. We're using it right now to help defeat COVID. And most of us are hoping COVID doesn't evolve into some sort of super bug that speaks English and shoots laser beams. We need this country and the world to start training the next generation of scientists. And the last thing we need is all of this technology and information at our fingertips going to waste. The future is up to us. Do we want to teach science like evolution in public schools? Or do we want to be left behind as everyone else takes the lead? The choice is ours. Thank you.
Woohoo!
And with that, we'll start with James, then hand it off to Atheist Jr. So are you ready, guys, for the duel of creationism versus evolution?
I think we're ready. I'm ready, yeah. So, yeah, that was a good debate. I didn't quite get to watch all of it, but I think Atheist Jr. did a good job. He made a lot of good points in that, and we'll highlight some of those here tonight. But yeah, of course, evolution should be taught in schools because it's demonstrably true. It just happens. And, if that happens to contradict some ancient holy texts written by people in the Bronze Age, then I'm sorry, but it's still true. And they can thumb their nose at it. They can be in denial. They can refuse to acknowledge it. But reality doesn't care. Reality just is what it is. And we've never advanced anywhere as a human race by blindly following ancient religious texts. We've advanced ourselves through modern science, through experimentation, through research, through challenging ideas, challenging the status quo. And because of that, we've built this new modern world that looks indistinguishable from the world as it looked just a couple hundred years ago. And that's not because of religion, that's because of science. And the same type of science that gets you space shuttles and cell phones and all the modern equipment that we have, modern medicine, the same principles applied to biology tell us beyond any shred of a doubt that evolution is by far the only logical explanation for the diversity of life on Earth. That's just a fact. You can deny it all you want, but it's still true. Thank you.
Oh, I just realized I was double muted. Woohoo! Thank
Double
you,
tapped.
James. Double tapped. I keep on going for those zombies. Thank you so much. And with that, we are going to hand it over to Atheist Jr.
All right. Thanks, Amy. Thanks for letting me kind of be a co-host of the show and, talk about the debate that I did yesterday. And I will start off by saying that I know that, we have fun making fun of Kent, but for anybody that might be considering debating him, I will just say that it was harder than I expected. But I went in trying not to underestimate Kent, because at the end of the day, while his arguments may not have changed, the fact is that there was a big gap in experience in debating between me and him. And I think if you take that into account, I think I did pretty good. Now, when the debate was going on, I was convinced that I was losing horribly, but after rewatching it today, I'm a lot more confident about my performance, and I've been getting messages on Twitter, YouTube, and different platforms all day from people in this community giving me messages of support and saying I did great, which I really appreciate, and as well as the people that helped prepare me for the debate, like Peter, who worked with me all week. He was like my coach for the debate, and I think that preparation, it showed that preparation paid off in the debate. So yeah, that's about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so very much, Atheist Jr. And I agree. It's always hard when you go up against a big name. But I think you were both respectful, and I think you also held your ground, which is... Yeah.
I think so too. And I've had debates that I did where I didn't think I did as well as I should have. And that's just how it is. You learn, you make mistakes sometimes, you learn from it. But, being that this was your first formal debate, and being that Kent Hovind's had hundreds of them, I don't think you did bad at all. I mean, and, everybody, it's very easy to say, like, oh, yeah, look at Kent Hovind, his arguments are silly and this and that. And you want to be the one that goes in there, just delivers that knockout punch that, you see other people debate him. You see how they do it. They approach it like, well, maybe they should have done this, or maybe they should have said that. When I get my chance, I'll do that. But, when you're actually in there, it's a lot. It's not quite as easy as it looks.
Is my audio fucked up still?
There was a little bit of a lag. Now that you're testing it again, it sounds better.
Okay, I think that was probably just my internet or something. So sorry about that.
No, we got almost all of it, so you're good.
Okay, because the chat is roasting me right now.
yeah, they will point that out if there's any audio interference. But yeah,
and no, Kent often likes to put his opponents on. I'm trying to think how to say this. Not particularly unfriendly territory, but he likes to put the burden of proof on the other person. And so it's almost like you were defending. It's not. Is creationism true or something where he would have to actually present evidence? But I find what the creationists do is they spend lots and lots of time learning evolution just so they can attack it. That's like the whole shtick.
Yeah, I thought when I heard Atheist Jr. tell Kent Hovind that, he bases everything off the Bible, but he doesn't want to debate the Bible. He doesn't want to talk about the Bible. That was a really good point because he's made that claim in debates before that, we'll talk about the Bible, but in another debate. This is not about the Bible, but he never actually gets around to doing that debate about the Bible.
Yeah, his quote that I've heard him say in like every debate was, I'm not asking for, creationism to be taught in public schools. And I don't know if you noticed this, but he didn't say it once in the whole debate because I called him out on it in my opening statement, and I didn't hear him say it at all.
Yeah,
that he wants creationism taught in schools.
Yeah, he's not trying to get creationism taught in school because my point with that was that if you watch the Dr. Dan debate or really just about any of his recent debates, whenever somebody will say like, are these two animals the same kind? And he says, I don't know. And then the person asks, are these two animals the same kind? And they go down the list, he'll say, I don't know, but it doesn't matter because I'm not asking for my theory to be taught in public schools at taxpayer expense. And he'll always go to that as a last resort. So I wanted to kind of get that out of the way first. And he never said it during the debate. The same thing with my favorite moment during the debate was right at the beginning of the open discussion where I asked Kent a question and it was pretty obvious that he wasn't listening to me because there was just this dead silence. But I asked him like, you're saying that you pay for evidence for evolution to be taught in public schools, but DAL is a 501c3 ministry, isn't it? And he had to admit that I was right.
I paid taxes before,
right,
30 years ago before I went to prison.
Yeah, he said like, "Oh, I pay gas tax and like these other taxes," and I'm thinking, what's the implication of that? That you only paid those taxes because you had no choice?
Basically, yeah. And his little thing where he says, if you want evolution, you can start your own private school and teach evolution there, but don't teach it in the public school.
And he says no one would come except for the fact that people willingly go to college to learn about evolution.
Biology, yeah.
Yeah. But he couldn't go back to that argument of, I don't want to pay for it. But he tried to. He said it again later, and I said, well, you don't. and again later, he can't help but say that. It's such a habit of his. But since I kind of kicked the legs out from under him on that statement, he did. There was a third time at the end where he said, like, oh, I don't want to pay for this, but I pay like gas taxes and stuff. He said something like that. So I was able to control what Kent did or didn't say a little bit, even though Kent's very good at controlling the flow of the debate about what we talk about. And, I fell victim to that. I'll admit it, but that's his debating expertise, but I was also able to kind of control his what he said a little bit. So
you know who else is good at that? John Maddox is good at that. He's like he likes to subtly control the flow of the debate and kind of steer it in the direction he wants to go, and you have to fight him on it. At point, just run.
I've never heard of him.
John Maddox, LPP.
No, I don't know who that is.
Probable.
Yeah, never heard of him.
Oh, hey, he's a special guy. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Logical, plausible, probable. Yeah.
Sounds like a dick. Anybody with that username must be an asshole. I'll have to look into who this is. I'm joking.
That's not too far off. Peter lovingly refers to him as Little PP, but I'm sure Amy will be right back. But yeah, I mean, and the thing that Kent Hovind does is he, he tried to accuse you of gish galloping, but he always does that. He goes through a slideshow and he just presents so many fallacious claims, and you literally don't have time to go through the process. So you have to kind of pick your battles, which ones are the worst that you want to, hit back on.
Yeah. And there was things that I missed, like Kent saying that red blood cells have DNA in them, which I'm pretty sure is wrong. But Kent literally told me to bring up 5,000 pieces of evidence for evolution, and then said I was gish galloping when I brought up one topic and then started talking about something else after asking me to bring up 5,000 different things. So
I do remember him basically tirading for like a minute and a half, and then you brought up a gish gallop, and then he had to like tirade for another minute and a half about how a gish gallop isn't a gish gallop. It was fantastic.
Yeah, the guy who sold Dwayne Gish's books is the one who gish gallops, not me.
Like remember with the debate with Maddie when they got into like a 10-minute tussle just about his stupid coin analogy. And he knew that if he could waste as much time as he could on that one, that's just less time he has to defend creationism.
Yeah. And I looked it up today, and Bill Gates is an atheist, so I was right about that one.
Yes. Oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
One of SFT's mods was saying I was wrong about that, so... The butthurt in the comments was delicious. Just that the Hovind fans were so mad.
In the comments on Modern Day Debate or on your channel?
Yeah, on SFT's channel. And Kent Hovind's channel when he uploaded the video today.
What were they mad about?
It was mostly telling me to come to Jesus, complaining that I wasn't showing my face.
It's a sexy sentence.
Just saying I was just saying I was wrong about stuff and that I'm going to hell, basically.
Oh, okay.
And bitching about my avatar.
Yeah, I like that avatar.
Well, I guess I didn't really explain it during the debate, but it's not meant to be a symbol of violence against Christians. What it's supposed to mean is people who take religion and they misuse it and weaponize it and use it to harm other people, like Catholic priests and young children, or Jehovah's Witnesses who refuse to give their children blood transfusions because of their religion, and just the harm that religion can cause. But it's not meant to be offensive to Christians. And Theo, the guy I interviewed, he got it. Like, he wasn't offended by it. So
there's other Christians, other sects that refuse medical treatment for their children all the time. They refuse vaccinations. They refuse certain treatments, and think that prayer is the best medicine.
Right. And if you look at the thumbnail of the debate, they didn't put my avatar on it. They put the traditional atheist A.
Yeah.
Really? They couldn't.
Yeah, they did
equate his censorship. In my opinion, it's a little bit of censorship, but it's okay. I like SFT, and it was praise that made the thumbnail.
I just find it funny because every once in a while, these are the people that are saying, we're politically incorrect. What do you mean offending? Oh, blah, blah. But then it turns back to religion. And they're like, well, some things have to be holy. And you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. As soon as there's something that offends them, it's like snap back to reality. Oop, there goes gravity. Like the song.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I thought it was a good. Not only did I think it was a good debate, I don't think it ended in a dumpster fire. So I think it almost ended like you and Kent could have had it again, which is rare.
Yeah,
a rare thing.
There was really only one moment where SFT had to sort of step in because I was, I'll admit that I was kind of interrupting Kent, but for the most part, we let each other talk. Kent really started to drone on near the end, and I didn't cut in. There was one moment during the Q&A where I really wanted to respond to Kent, and for some reason I didn't get to, because Kent has been saying this thing for so long about, why is it that the geologic column, if all of the layers are there, they're the same age? How can one layer be older than the other? Are they coming from outer space? Okay. And it's like, Kent, I was trying to ask him, Kent, do you know how limestone is formed? Because, limestone is formed from sea animals with shells that are made of calcium carbonate dying, and then they fall to the seafloor in huge numbers, and eventually all of these shells get compacted along with waste products of the animals and other things, and it turns into limestone. But that so that is a process that happens over time. So the layer under that is going to be older than the limestone layer. And also, I would like to have a creationist explain how you have that happen in 1 year, but I've never heard that. So,
and they need to thank God, because I guess they credit God for making it so that the flood would sort the animals in these neat layers, so that the least complex animals were the older layers, going up gradually to the more complex animals. I mean, they were all alive at the same time, but it was nice of God to have it sorted that way. So it just looks like they evolved. It just looks like they started off simple and got more complex.
Well, the clams are at the bottom and the birds are at the top because birds can fly and clams can't fly, okay?
Yeah. And
makes sense.
You'll never find a human next to a dinosaur because the dinosaur would have ate the human, so they would have ran away. There you go.
I have to say, I was really fighting the urge to do my Hovind impression during the debate. That was a challenge.
Yeah, he can be just such a prima donna that if you want to have another game with him or another debate with him, yeah, you can't really do that. You get
even a little bit of trolling, yeah, probably.
Yeah, he offered to have another one with me, at Dinosaur Adventureland, but I think that he'd be willing to do another one online with me. But when me and SFT were waiting for Hovind because he was late, unsurprisingly, and when he joined the StreamYard, the first thing that he started asking me was, "What's my real name?" Like the very first thing.
Yeah.
They're obsessed with this stuff. Like, I can't go on a Christian stream anymore without having like a 45-minute conversation about my gender. And I'm like, guys, all I said was hello. Like, fine, whatever.
Well, Otangelo yesterday didn't do that, so just saying.
True. No, there are
you can have
right? It's really half. You're right. I shouldn't paint with too broad a brush because it's just the hyper. I don't want to say the hyper literalists because it just people like Kent, people like Darth. I don't know why people like them, even though they're on like opposite sides of the theological spectrum of defense of apologetics. I don't know what is with this obsession with names. Like they feel like I need my magnifying glass. They feel like they found something. Like if I use this name, I will command this person, and it's like this is
the
the
like
internet, buddy.
In my opinion, it's just a thinly veiled attempt at gathering information to dox people.
Yeah,
Because
that's what it is.
Kent has revealed, and Maddie told me on Twitter, she was the person who debated Kent before me, and she said that when, in the pre-show, that Kent wanted her name and phone number. And I was like,
a little much.
Why?
And social security number.
Well,
And,
Kent
and a urine
your wife,
sample.
so I would not want Ken Hovind to have my cell phone number, especially if I were a woman, because I can only imagine the kind of strange texts you would get at 3 a.m.
Yeah, well, if you
Like
watch
sexy massages.
the Aaron Ra and Kent Hovind like video exchange debate,
Yeah.
like there are some videos before the debate actually started where Kent is talking about Aaron, and he said that, I had my friend, quote unquote, go on truthfinder.com and try to look up like where Aaron lives and look up by his legal name. And if you're going to a website like that, it's like, in my opinion, he just gathers information about atheists or evolutionists or people on the other side, quote unquote, and he just wants that because he thinks it gives him power over people. Because he was constantly calling me by my actual name in the debate, he was pretty frustrated when I told him my name was AJ, but it's true, it's an abbreviation. I think he wanted to know what the abbreviation was for, but that's why I named my channel this.
But it's it is just so silly to think that they really do feel like it is like a power. Like, I have this, now this gives me the advantage, but it's like, it's just a name on the internet.
He's bad because we all know how many felonies he's been convicted of. His dirty laundry is out for everybody to see. So he wants to look at everybody else's dirty laundry.
That's a good point.
I'm sorry, Kent, that you went on this crusade with the government and you decided to basically money launder and structure all those transactions to hide your assets from the IRS. But that's on you, Kent. You did that.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think that the reason, and the people also complaining about me not being on camera, it's like, well, I don't have a camera, but I'm not going to be on camera to try and gain the respect of some commenters in Kent Hovind's comment section, because they wouldn't respect me anyway. But it's like, if you guys want to buy me a camera, like patreon.com/Atheist Jr.
Yeah, you remember when Kent was still in prison, the thing about when Logic started making his videos and they're like, oh, he doesn't show his face. He must be so hideous looking.
Yeah, and then Logic made a video where he showed that same guy, Lone Star 1776, talking about a theist who wasn't showing his name, his face, and he was like, "Oh, well, he must want his privacy." It's like,
he wants his anonymity. What's wrong with that? Nothing wrong with being anonymous.
Yeah, as Kent Hovind would say, he wants his anonymity.
Well, he debated Erica Gutsick Gibbon one debate, and then they were going to do another one, but in order to do that, Kent said she would have to basically dox herself and give Kent all her information, like her full name and stuff like that. And she didn't want to give all that to Kent, so yeah, it never happened.
I could be wrong, but I think that Dapper Dino and Erica wanted to do a debate together against Kent, and he didn't like the fact that Dapper doesn't show his face either. So the debate kind of fell through. But it's like Erica, she's already showing her first name and she's on camera, which for a woman to be on camera on YouTube in this community is already pretty heroic, in my opinion. That's why I say that Gutsick Gibbon is my hero, as well as Amy.
Yeah, but he also wanted her full name as a condition to redo the debate. And like, what does that have to do with debating evolution or creation? My last name can be Smith. Who cares? Whatever.
Yeah, and then he doesn't even call Aaron by his real name. It's like, well, make up
Where-
your mind.
Yeah, pick and choosing. And
Right.
so actually, I'm gonna just change this. Actually, I interrupted probably a minute too early, but we're about to change the subject in a second. We are midnight ranting on should evolution be taught in public schools, and we'll wait for a minute. And so here, Atheist Jr., I think someone has something they want to share with you. And so I'm going to bring them on even before the open mic portion. That's how awesome they are.
Hey, sir.
Hello, Peter.
It's Peter. Yeah.
Peter.
So
Hello, Peter.
first of all, AJ and I have been talking pretty much all the time since the debate. I have to mention it. Great trolling of LPP earlier.
Thank you.
I don't think the others got it, but so he was on LPP's channel after the debate. Didn't go down well.
Atheist Jr.
No.
And yeah, LPP still a little butthurt, so I left him a comment
or
as
LP.
well.
Well, I
Yeah.
guess I can address that real quick. Now, I had a video. There's a video on my channel called "Talking with Mr. Archaeopteryx," where I did a live stream, and it was just to talk to him. But as live streams go, people jump on, and I just sort of let the discussion happen. And Standing for Truth came on, and LPP came on, and this was my first time talking to him. I had had a lot of people in the community tell me, like, don't talk to him, like he's an asshole, like don't even bother. But we had a pretty cordial discussion. He was nice to me. I was friendly to him. I thought we had an interesting discussion, and I ended the stream, basically thinking he was an okay guy. And then I kept hearing people say these things about LPP, and I was like, well, in my experience, I've only had one talk with him, but it went well. And then yesterday, I had finished the debate with Kent, and I was mentally and physically exhausted. I was really tired afterwards. How
exhausting. Yeah.
how Jim Majors was the other day when he came on this stream, and I know he got vaccinated too, but my brain was fried. And I went on LPP stream, which was probably not a good idea because it was 9 theists and then me.
Oh boy.
It is one of the ultimate lion's dens, all those sorts of channels.
Yeah, and then Nephilim Free started doing this endless rant about specified complexity of different things like DNA or whatever. And I just said that, and I told him that to me, and he said that, oh, biologists don't understand something. And I said, well, it sounds to me like what you're describing is just a god of the gaps, but the gap that you can't fill is that you can't. You might be able to plug in your God and say that all of this is because of your God, but the gap that you can't fill is you can't get over that hurdle to say that it's your Christian God.
Right.
So I'd like to see evidence of that. And then that set off LPP, and he started asking me Darth Dawkins style, interrogating me, asking me these nonsensical word salad questions about mRNA.
He's been cozy with Dawkins lately. Wow.
And so what happened was you gave a wrong answer. It was the correct answer to the question. It was the wrong answer for what he wanted to hear. And then LPP, like Darth Dawkins, had to track back a couple of questions. Wait, so we'll have to go back a few questions because now you gave an answer that I don't have a rebuttal to, which I thought was brilliant.
What was the question?
Well, he was describing micro machine-like organisms that are in the human body, like in the DNA, which I do agree with. Those exist, but they're part of a chemical organism, and he was talking about robots and nano machines and micro robots. And all I said was that well, robots are made out of metal. They're not made out of flesh and bone. And everyone in the chat started like basically going like, oh man, this guy is so stupid. And LPP said that it was a dumbass question that I said. And I told him, if you're going to call me a dumbass, then I could just leave. And I was talking with him a little bit more. And then I gave him another answer he didn't like. And he said, and all of his like jackal theist friends were laughing. And he said something like, hold on, guys, I don't think he's this ignorant. And I told him, fuck you. And I quit. I exited the stream.
And he went on a rant after that, because you can't say that the only people who can use ad hominems are the Christians. We can't allow an atheist to do that. And
he just had a total meltdown.
Yeah. It was brilliant. I loved it. And first, I also want to thank you, AJ. We rallied a group of friends to help AJ out before the debate, and so I want to do a massive shout out to Jackson Wheat, who I think jumped on that immediately and came on with lots of things to add to the opening statement and to help AJ with the debate. Which I think is awesome, seeing that it's his first debate, and that's probably why you got so wasted. It'll get better over time, but I think you did awesome, considering you're going up against a guy whose job is debating.
Yeah, a juggernaut.
First debate,
a professional person.
And so, Peter, did you want to do something? Because you got 1 minute to midnight.
Yeah, we got 1 minute to midnight ranting. Yeah, so as everyone knows, I am omniscient. So I know what is going on in the world and across the world even. So, there was a little thing that... Can you put me full screen, Amy?
So you know whether Gavin has pants on at any given time?
Oh, I should say
I know a lot more. So AJ, hold on. This is for you.
Why? What happened? Oh no, Eddie. Are you kidding me? It's your birthday again? Oh snap. Here we go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Okay, so there it is. Now I gotta do my thing. You do your thing. All right, I'll talk to you later on. Get up on out of here. Have some cake or something like that.
Wow.
Why?
Oops. There we go.
Wow.
I had to do that. I had to do that.
And birthday?
You must be omniscient, because I used to have a French bulldog.
And that's the part I didn't know. But yeah, we recently found out that our birthdays follow up on each other. So I just had mine, and today it's his. Mine just ended. Now it's his time.
Oh.
Yay.
Birthday. Nice Kent Hovind debate as your present for your birthday.
Yeah, and I got this Blue Yeti microphone was the birthday present that I got. But yeah, I'll take the victory over Kent. And I do think it was a victory because I got Kent to admit that there are new kinds for him. I don't know if you noticed that.
I did hear that. He did say new kinds came out.
I am surprised he would admit that, because he would say, oh, the kinds had to be created, but yeah.
Well, I'm kind of joking, but I said that the multicellular algae coming from the single-celled one is a new kind, and he was just like, okay. He didn't challenge me or disagree with anything. He just said, okay. I'm like, so
but
are you
still
algae?
There were a couple of times where you had maybe the same argument that other people had, but you brought it in a different way. and you can see on screen that he's stumped, and he did agree to pretty much to macroevolution, which I think was great. So that one you can just pocket. That's yours. And
so,
Amy,
guys,
yeah, I wanted to say if I jumped in early. If you want to have just the three of you, I can jump back out.
I think we're actually going to do the opposite. I think we're about to jump into the open mic portion.
Okay.
So
you ready,
pull up a seat.
I'm
Are
ready.
you ready, AJ? Your body's ready.
My body is always ready.
And with that, we are moving into...
Yeah.
And all right, everyone, I'm sending those links into chat, into Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. So no matter where you're watching, you can come join our live stream or keep on watching.
Pants or no pants?
Pants or no pants. They'll keep them pants on view for YouTube overlords. Hello, CIA. How are you doing? We're doing fine. What are you talking about? I don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, keep it below the camera where the camera can see, please.
This is not Chippendales, as much as that would be nice.
Hey, Amy, your link is broken.
Did you set the first link for the stream?
Oh, bad link. Oh, that's right. I'm so sorry, guys, because I moved over.
It looks like it's the right link. I think you put an emoji at the end of the link. That might be why.
Oh, is that why?
It could be.
Let's try it one more time. Sending it back out there. And we got Oz. And we got Jason. Woohoo! And all right, we're starting with Oz. We have been midnight ranting on should evolution be taught in public schools, either the debate with Kent Hovind or just an Atheist Jr. or just the subject itself. How are you and what are your thoughts?
I have several thoughts. Yes, it should be. And Atheist Jr., I saw the birthday stuff. If it's actually your birthday, happy birthday.
Thank you.
And we had 2 streams tonight, so I haven't got to watch the debate, but I will watch that. But you already won. Why? Because of who you were debating. It's a done deal. And then I saw LPP came up, and he's a joke. Those are my thoughts.
Woohoo! Well, thank you so very much, Oz.
I love that.
And okay, we're going to keep on moving down till we get everyone in. Jason, we are midnight ranting on should evolution be taught in public schools, the debate with Kent Hovind and Atheist Jr., or just the subject itself. How are you, and what are your thoughts?
Hey, how's it going, guys? I'm doing pretty good. I'm just going to say that I thought Atheist Jr. did a great job. I thought it was really awesome. I thought you were well prepared, and you went over the points pretty good. And I think that obviously those kinds of things are difficult. Hovind is a master manipulator, but I thought you did an awesome job. And overall, obviously, I think that that we should be teaching evolution in schools. And I know that there's a lot of discussions around, should we teach creationism at all? Maybe like in a mythology aspect or a history aspect, but certainly not in a science aspect. So I'm just going to leave it there because I'm sure we're going to have some discussions about this, but I just wanted to reemphasize Atheist Jr. I thought you did an awesome job.
Thank you.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, and I also want to jump in real quick because I said we had a few people helping him. There wasn't much in his opening statement that was changed. So he already did brilliant in his opening statement. Wasn't an awesome opening statement. I got to read it before everyone chimed in, and things, some minor things were changed. So he needs to get credit for that.
No,
I will say
it was
that
a good opening. His opening was very good.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm glad you guys liked it. I will say that Jackson Wheat, like you said, when Peter asked him, he did come in immediately to come and help me, and he made several minor changes to my opening script, but I kept all of them in word for word, and I was a little bit terrified because I was like, oh God, I hope Jackson doesn't think I'm an idiot, but he really helped the changes he made, because he is, obviously very smart, and the fact that he took the time out of his busy schedule, because I know that he's simultaneously going to school and also has to grade papers and stuff, and is writing the books and all this stuff with RJ Downard. And can I also just say for a second that one of the reasons that I got upset with LPP yesterday is because he was saying that RJ Downard basically has dementia, and he was making fun of him. And I just don't like that type of bullying, making fun of other people for things that they're not in control of. And that I didn't like that. So I told him he was going to hell for that. And he didn't like that when I said that.
Yeah. Fuck LPP.
And RJ can run
Mixed
circles
reactions
around
with
him
him.
when it comes to science. So
Right.
yeah.
Sometimes LPP is very nice to me. And like I've said before, like it almost is like he went out of his way to proper gender me. And then sometimes I think I'll go on his channel and it feels just like a lion's den because he kicks me. And then sometimes he brings me back, which is like a weird thing. And I'm like, oh, okay. But it's just not sure how to feel on the Christian channels because I'm waiting for those free speech. Anyone can say whatever they want without feeling like they're going to get kicked. I'm waiting for those.
No, Atheist Jr., you nailed it in regards to LPP. And I've only had one conversation with him, and it was enough to know that anytime that I talk to him, I already know to go in ready for a fight. Because even if it's appears to be calm, he has motives, and he wants to get it down to either he's going to try to bully you or fight you or just kick you out because he doesn't like what the fuck you got to say.
Is that when you went on channel?
Say it again.
He just calls everyone stupid. Yeah, we didn't hear you, James.
No, yeah, I said, is that the time when you went on his channel with Darth Dawkins? Was that your only interaction with LPP?
Yeah, after Darth left. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was it. But don't get me wrong. I've listened to LPP a decent.
Well, we're going to listen to him more because he's backstage.
Good.
Oh, boy.
But he's in the list. We got Bird, we got Amaretto, Soldier of Science, and then LPP.
Jason?
So we're moving down.
Yeah.
Jason, did you have
Bird.
something to say?
Oh no.
Oh, yeah, say something.
No. Well, I mean,
We got
LPP will be able to speak for himself, but it does seem that in their streams that they, there is a lot of name calling, there is a lot of put downs, and certainly if their positions are strong, they should be able to support them without talking about people that way. So that's all I'll say.
And we're moving down with Bird. Bird, we have been midnight ranting on should evolution be taught in public schools. What are your thoughts about either the debate or the topic?
I thought. Hey, what's up, everybody? I thought Atheist Jr. did really well. I really did, especially for his first time out. I know someone like Hovind has lots and lots and lots of reps, but I thought he held his own. We can sit there and pick at everything he did, but I thought he did pretty damn good for his first time out.
Yep.
Now, should evolution be taught? I'm kind of with Jason on this one. It would be as a religious doctrine, and that's it. It's not science. It's not fact. That's all there is to it.
creation.
Right. I mean, it's no more true that Zeus throws lightning. I mean, first let's prove the Bible, and then we can teach creation. How about that one? Let's prove your God is true. Anyway.
Yeah.
Great
like
job.
telling Darth, yeah, let's establish that your God exists first before we talk about if he's the necessary precondition.
Exactly.
Science.
Yeah, all those lovely words that he likes to use. But anyway, it's great to be here, and who's ever next, let's do it.
Let's do it. Who's next?
So, Amaretto, you are next. We are midnight ranting on should evolution be taught in schools. How are you, and any thoughts?
I'm hanging in there.
double audio on that one.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Amy, did you mute it? Okay. Yeah, so I'm always baffled that there are people who think that we shouldn't be teaching evolution in school. Just because, scientifically theory means that it's an overarching explanation. It's been well substantiated and accepted by the scientific community. So I do think that is, something we should always be including, especially in science class. So I'm of the mindset that I'm not wholly opposed to teaching creationism in schools, however, simply because I think it's important for everybody to see all of the, popular or well substantiated, beliefs about why we are the way we are and why we're here, and kind of presenting it that way. Part of the joy of being human is our, cognitive, display, and the freedom of choice. So I think that I do worry about, I don't like indoctrination. I like having everybody being able to make their choice and giving everybody the tools to try and make as educated of a choice as possible. And I think that, when you allow people to speak out against what you're saying, like to debate, that's when it becomes stronger because they can stand on their own.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Thank you so very much, Amaretto.
Should we teach flat Earth next to the globe Earth and say let the kids make up their mind which is real?
Nope.
Well,
At the same time, though, I think that's a kind of an obvious thing. We have.
Same with evolution.
Yeah. I'm just like y'all. I know you guys have like such a hard pass on creationism, and I don't believe in it either per se. But at the same time, like I said, I think that that's probably going to be the healthiest way that's going to possibly actually work here in America in certain parts of the population for sure, just knowing how the cultures can be. I would rather find a way to get the evolution side out in front of as many people as possible versus, having all these, creationist only types. I guess that's my kind of way where I'm being pragmatic about it. But that's just me.
I think there's a possibility to teach it in schools, but you should teach it in a comparative religion class, and then not only limit it to Christian creationism, but bring in all the other religions as well, because the Christians aren't the only one.
Yeah,
so,
I totally agree. I think that's a good idea, Peter, because my cousin went to.
Now everyone's calling me Peter instead of Peter.
That's how you'd like us to pronounce it, right?
It's how the Dutch pronounce it, but
I figured that it was. I have some foreign language experience, so. But regardless, before we get too off topic, like I definitely agree with that. The one thing I'm such a huge public school proponent. I went to one of the best, school districts in my state. And most of my family went to Catholic school, to private Catholic school. And I will say, like, the one thing I did like about my cousin's Catholic school was that they actually taught a whole bunch of different faiths, and they had a world religion class. So they kind of went into some of those sociocultural topics that we didn't go into in public school. And I know, like, at least for that school, there's actually a large population of Jewish students. like as in religiously observing Jewish students who go to that Catholic school. And I thought that was kind of interesting because you wouldn't necessarily think, but I think as far as like the manner, or, I'm sorry, the breadth of the subject matter, I think, you know, some of the Catholic schools and private schools do have it right. Because I would have loved to have taken a world religion course, you know, and learn about all sorts of different ideas from different countries and where religion and faith comes from. And I think that kind of stuff is useful for giving people a different perspective maybe, and helping reach out and kind of understand where other people's, you know, belief systems are coming from, and hopefully build bridges through things like that. I think that would have definitely been useful in my community. Just knowing how some of the Muslim students were treated after 9/11. But that's just my perspective on it. But I definitely agree, Peter. I think that's a good compromise as well.
Well, I said in my opening
Amy, you're
statement,
muted.
Amy, you're muted.
Newman, focus.
She's
FUCOS.
What
What
does
does that spell? Okay. But thank you so very much. And
Newman,
we are-
listen to me. You're a grown adult.
Oh God, here we go.
So we're moving along. Soldier of Science, we are midnight ranting on should evolution be taught in public schools, the debate or the topic itself. How are you and what are your thoughts?
Well, I am doing fantastic, guys. Thank you for letting me join. You know, I have to say I didn't see the Kent Hovind debate. I'll definitely check that out.
Didn't need to.
Okay, cool. I guess my first response is, this is a super malformed question. I mean, this is only a question that would happen in America, right? I mean, seriously, or I shouldn't say only in America, but in only Western part of the world where science actually exists. This is super malformed in the fact that you wouldn't ask, should we teach geology in school? Or you wouldn't ask, should we teach computer science in school? You would not ask any aspect of any other science. And so this is a malformed question in the fact that we go, you know what, we don't really believe, or basically what Amaretto was saying is, there's a pragmatic point to this, that there's a lot of stupid people in the United States that basically believe that climate change doesn't work or is false, and that evolution could be false. These two things could be false, and so for some other reason, they're able to say, I can deal with science technology, I can deal with medical technology, I can deal with all of these other sciences, but then when it comes to evolution, since it goes totally against their religion, they go, oh, maybe that's just it's not really a fact, it's a theory, and therefore I shouldn't believe in it. So the question itself is completely malformed. The fact that Americans are asking whether a scientific fact, get it through your heads. We call it a theory because that's what science deals with, but it is a fact. To ask that question is malformed in the first place. And Amaretto, I would say against your argument that you think that creationism should be taught or should be observed in schools, I reject that completely, 100%. I reject it. I just reject it. It's basically like saying we should teach people that the Irish believe in leprechauns, or that Hawaiians believe in menahunis, and that they could really exist. It's the equivalent in my mind. It's the equivalent,
it's like teaching flat Earth.
Yeah, it's the equivalent of teaching flat Earth. That some people believe in flat Earth, and I would say, as Americans, what we have done with religion and this word called faith is we put faith on a pedestal. Like we think that faith, a human of faith is somehow on the equivalence of a scientist or any other smart person in the world. And that's just not the case. It's not at all. These are people who studied old texts, and because they have feelings and because they think they're smart about a book, that therefore we should respect that faith. And it is the most overrated, the most overused word in America, because basically it's an excuse for us to reject science. It's an excuse for us to go, you know what? We can't criticize this person's fake ass science. It's a fake ass belief. And we can't criticize that because then we're bigots. Hey, if we criticize Israelis for grabbing land in Palestine, we're bigots, right? Because we support that, right? We're Christians that support that. If we criticize Christian lobbyists who fund weapons to Saudi Arabia, we're bigots because we're criticizing that. And you have to get down to brass tacks. What does it come down to? What it comes down to is teaching stuff like creationism is just poison to half of America. That's my response.
Woohoo! Well, thank you so very much, Soldier of Science. And with that,
Amy, I put the link to the debate in the side chat, and I put the link to AJ's channel. So people can not only watch the debate, but also go and subscribe to his channel, because there will be a lot more good things coming.
woohoo!
I think I've reached
All right.
150 subscribers since the debate happened.
Atta baby.
Yeah,
Really?
And-
Congratulations.
and 127 views on the debate alone.
Oh,
Nice.
good job. Good job.
Yeah,
Hey,
that's
Hey, Namoretto, don't take that personally. I just wanted to attack that one aspect.
You're fine.
Atheist Jr.
Go ahead,
Once I watch it, do you mind if I do a like a review of it on our channel? Because anything Kent Hovind, I love to review, especially if I can get Dr. Josh on to do the
Buy my books. Buy my DVDs.
Of course. And, I still plan on being on your show. Is it tomorrow, the Tart show? Or the one about new atheist channels?
Oh no, that was last week, but we'll get you. We do them all the time, so we'll get you on the next one. That was last Sunday or Saturday, whatever day it was. But we do them all the time. I'll make sure you're on.
And James just got summoned by Satan, but he will be back. But that's okay, because we are moving along. I think someone may have maybe 1-2 disagreements with us tops. Besides that, I'm sure. Oh, they both dropped off. And so did Atheist Jr. And okay, Satan just keeps on summoning people. But LPP, John, we have been midnight ranting on should evolution be taught in public schools. How are you? And what are your thoughts about either the debate or the topic?
I mean, I don't have any issue with the concept being taught in school. I don't think it should have a be the only scientific concept that has a legal protection. I think that's kind of bizarre when you think about it from a historic perspective, and then when you factor in the pretty significant level of restructuring of the theory itself and the published papers on the need for a new paradigm in the concept, because of all the things that have been being discovered over the last 15 years that are basically annihilating the foundation of the concept in and of itself. I mean, I would say those are the sorts of things that need to be addressed, and until they are, it being put forth as a completely proven beyond all doubt premise, in spite of diatribes by a soldier of science who doesn't actually understand the concept. And
yes, I do.
People
Shots fired.
We've had conversations before, dude. You don't understand it.
Shots fired.
No, I know we have.
Just let John finish.
Before he rage quit the other night, AJ admitted he doesn't actually understand protein synthesis, didn't even know what a codon is, and then is going to be being an advocate for a theory. I mean, all I gotta say is, in those kinds of contexts, and you're on any other kind of context in that sort of scenario, it wouldn't be considered remotely rational of a endeavor to undertake if you don't understand the basics of a premise and the necessities have to be accounted for, and then to be advocating for such a topic. That's just me.
Right.
But,
So go get
last thing I would have to say would be
Hold on, one at a time.
And thank you so very much, LPP. And with we're going to go back into open conversation because that's everybody.
So you
Yeah,
let Soldier
I think it's funny.
Shots fired all around.
Give me 45 seconds.
I couldn't make out what you said. What did you say, John?
I said you're going to give Soldier of Science a 4 to 5 minute rant, and you're going to cut me off at like 90 seconds.
Oh, were you
Say
not
what you
done?
gotta say.
No, I thought you were. That was your opener.
No, and then the last thing I was going to say was, so Oz, what's your beef with me exactly, buddy? I was attempting to let you and Darth have your conversation. I was keeping my mouth shut, and then you disappeared. And then when you came back, I saw in side chat that you were running away like a injured child, and I offered to let you have ongoing conversation and air your beef.
How old are you?
And you ran. So what's your point?
Are we done yet? Or are we done?
That's the perfect answer, Oz. That was the perfect answer to that question.
So the beef, if that's what you want to.
Well, when I first came in here, you were
you were talking trash. You asked a question, so I'll answer.
So, what did I do to you specifically?
Well, it's a little broader, a little bigger than that. So when I did leave, your attempt to, even what Atheist Jr. said about you scrutinizing or highlighting somebody's mental health or mental wellness as a weakness or something like that. The comments that you made about myself in the channel and our focus on mental health and religious trauma and the long lasting effects that can have on there, and the way you minimized it and made it to appear. Your words made it to appear that it's not a thing when you can use Google and understand that it's a very real thing. Anybody that will try to minimize somebody's mental health or a mental illness, you are a joke in my book.
So, number one, I wasn't minimizing mental health issues. I really recognize that there's plenty of those. I seem to recall pointing out that you were partnering with a psychiatrist or psychologist that focuses on this, and continue promoting that on a regular basis. In relation to what AJ was talking about in relation to James Downard, he spews massive amounts of insults. I've debated him twice, and the guy literally claimed that it was reasonable to conclude that Twitter, Facebook, and Snapchat could create themselves when we were debating evolution and putting it into context. So in that particular back and forth in relation to Downard, I don't actually think he's demented. I think that he spent probably 50 years with a hyper focus in justifying his worldview, and I think that creates a significant amount of cognitive dissonance in his discussions. So slightly different context. You're going to take it from a hypersensitive perspective, I apologize, but usually, and I'll put you in this context, Oz, I don't know about AJ, you seem to strike me as somebody, and you kind of put yourself forth as somebody who's not exactly soft. So I would assume that if you're going to take the leadership role, that you would be able to have blunt conversation, or do you have to have everything done in a very soft and childish manner?
Yeah,
Can I say something?
Even go ahead.
I prefer if you would own what you said. You didn't call him demented. You and the people, I don't know if you specifically, but the other theists in the hangout were mocking the fact that he has facial tics, and you said that he has dementia and it's getting worse. Not that he was demented.
Yeah, I
Okay,
also
so
like to
you
chime in
just admitted
because
that I
RJ
didn't
isn't
say
here and he can't defend himself. The fact that LPP, that you say that he spent 50 years on defending his worldview, that's factually incorrect. What he has been doing for the past 50 years is taking creationist claims, going back to their sources, and then showing people how they are false. That has nothing to do with any worldview. That is fact-checking so-called scientific claims, and he does a
That
great
is
job on that, and
literally is
makes
a defense
everything
of a worldview, which the
everything
worldview is that
and makes
information comes from
everything
Okay, you know what? Overtalk me again, asshole.
Come
See
on,
what
come on.
happens.
Let's
and
just have like
and
Peter, I know that you try to
and
come on,
all
come
of
on
the
my
things
show
that
and
he
you're an
has,
idiot.
he
Why don't we
will
actually
put up
this in
for
real
everyone
context and
to use
stop trying to
freely.
redefine things?
we can't talk over
I
top of
know
one
you.
another.
I know you like over talking, LPP.
Oh.
I'm not going to allow that.
Let's do this. Like, let's have a respectful discussion. Like, frankly, John,
Yeah.
like sometimes in your streams, it doesn't seem so respectful. I think that
Damn
we
right.
should be respectful and let you say what you need to say, and everybody can be respectful. And if John's got something to say, we want him to be able to say it and have the opportunity to do that. And then if somebody has a response, you can do that, but try to do it in a respectful manner. That's what I would say.
So usually in my
Exactly.
streams, I allow people to have open dialogue, and until it degenerates into complete lunacy, where people come on with the expressed purpose of of trolling, I literally give people a round robin, like, "Hey, you go this, now you're next," and then we go like that for hours, and then I open it up into
No, you don't.
to crazy discussions.
I mean, but
yes,
I do.
Yes, I do. Now,
Okay.
No, you
You
don't.
may try.
No, you don't.
You may try.
yes,
The first time,
My point
John,
is,
the first
are you
time I
letting
was
me
on your
respond to
channel,
comment?
you fell
One at a time.
asleep.
One at a time, please. One at a time. Jesus.
John, the first time I was on your channel, you fell asleep. We ended up being there. It was just Jungle Jargon, another atheist that I hadn't met before, and me. We kept it respectful, even though you weren't there. We had all the opportunity to mock your channel, to take over the stream, because you weren't there anymore. The stream went on, I think, 2 hours after we left. We kept it respectful. Every single time you and I have interacted, within 5 minutes, the insults come out. And I'm just sick and tired of that. And I no longer consider you, I don't no longer consider you a worthy interlocutor,
Yeah,
because
come on,
you can't be.
Peter. Okay, let John respond.
Okay, Peter. So the reason that that's happened is, per your own admission in those streams, you've come in to talk shit and to be a jerk. You've literally admitted this. That this was your purpose.
After you started picking on me and hitting on me, yes, because I mirror behavior.
Hitting on me? Oh my!
Hello. Fine, but Peter issuing snarky BS. I have the video proof of your stupidity, Peter, and your admitted intent to come in and be a troll. Like,
can I respond?
I did. So I own up to that. I did, and I own up to that. And the reason for that,
and for fuck's sake.
Anyway, I'm done talking to you.
And the reason for that is the way I'm being treated by you, not the other way around. I mirror behavior, so I will own up to. that.
Okay,
no problem.
Let's just be real.
Behave differently, and I can be a cordial interlocutor.
Hey,
no
LPP,
problem. But you
Atheist
can't.
Jr. wanted to
please hold
make
on.
a comment.
Hold on, LPP. Can you turn your mic up just a little bit? You're real hard to hear.
Can I respond to?
Yeah, go ahead, Atheist Jr. Go ahead.
Okay. I just want to give my personal experience. Now, when John came on my channel recently, that was really the first live stream I had hosted, and I thought that me and him had a good discussion along with SFT and Jason, Mr. Archaeopteryx. It was cordial, and I really enjoyed the discussion. However, when I went on the after show yesterday, I did not go on there with the intention of insulting anybody, because that's not what I do. And me and Maddox were having a conversation where he was asking me questions, and I'll admit that I was mentally exhausted, and I was having trouble like answering the questions and understanding them like coherently. I'll admit that. But I was trying to answer them, and I was not the first person to start insulting people. That was you, Maddox, not me. And even if you say other people insult people, that doesn't make it okay for you to do it. You shouldn't call people stupid.
And so before anyone responds, anyone, we're gonna let John give his response, and then Nick actually wants to come in. But John, the floor is yours.
Okay, so two things. Number one, as AJ just stated, I can actually be a very nice individual, and my intent is actually to have good dialogue. However, if people act like idiots, I give no quarter. I have publicly stated this, and if you want to be a jackass, I'm going to do everything in my mental power to annihilate you. And if people don't understand that,
annihilate.
It's a figure of speech, man. Like,
I want to respond.
Try to use your brain for a second.
Okay, calm down, bro.
This is the exact kind of thing I'm talking about, man. Anyway, in the context of my interaction with AJ, I don't think I called you stupid. I said you were being an idiot. I think that's the word I used. But in the context of where that was way late into the stream, that stream had been going for hours before what you're talking about now actually occurred. But in the context of where it came up, we were discussing some of the most fundamental basics of biological systems. And your level of admitted ignorance on the topic was actually rather stunning to me. You just debated whether or not a topic should be in schools when you have basically no understanding of it. And to me, that is a stunning position to take. I would never, ever go and debate something and take a formal position on a topic that I don't understand the fundamental basics of.
So I'm gonna let Atheist Jr. respond,
bullshit.
or if you're done, LPP, and then Nick is backstage because we're gonna bring him in.
Amy, can I just point out one thing before this?
Is it quick?
This is quick. I'll read you what John posted in the live chat during the debate yesterday.
We don't care.
After show kicks off, right after the debate ends, come share your thoughts. Who won? Who lost? Best comebacks, and some good trash talking. I'd say there's some kind of intent, right, John? Just wanted to bring that up.
In an after show, usually people do have a bunch of side chat trash talking, and just like they do in debates, it's a relatively well-established premise of things that go down in crazy after shows of controversial topics. So, do you live in a universe in which everybody just goes and hugs each other, Peter?
No, but if I were going to hold on, let me reply. No, Bert,
and do you think from a marketing perspective, it's like, I know you understand marketing to an extent. So if you're doing if you're doing marketing messaging for an event that you bring, he brought this up.
John, let me reply to your question.
I haven't finished my point.
If I'm going to host an after show, the one thing I will not allow is shit talking. I'm just saying.
I'm sorry if that offends you.
You're not.
Come to mind then.
You're not.
Look, it's one thing. All right. Listen. It's one thing to express positions. These are controversial topics. This position of, it's not controversial scientifically. The scientific consensus is that evolutionary theory is established. But John, if you feel that somebody comes in and they're not stating a position that what you're saying is educated in a particular area, of which I don't think you're an evolutionary biologist, and I don't think you have a terminal degree in that area, it is a little presumptuous to come in and attack somebody and say they're an idiot when you, in fact, aren't an established person in that area. You have a modicum of experience of just Googling stuff. So let's be serious about this.
Okay, so is understanding of the basics of protein synthesis, do you think that would be a just a basic premise that you might want to understand before you take a formal position on evolution? Yes or no?
I don't know if that's necessarily the case. I'm not sure if you
so
or another
person. Do you understand the significance of protein synthesis in relation to evolutionary theory?
It's not the case for Kent Hovind.
I tell you what. I do understand. I do understand that evolutionary theory and the concepts around it are established scientific consensus. You're not an evolutionary biologist, and I don't think anybody on your stream is an evolutionary biologist.
What does that have to do with a basic understanding of biology?
You don't have
the basic understanding that
No,
according to Erica and Jackson Wheat, you do not have.
Maddox, I'd like to know what your background is.
If you go and watch my debate with Erica,
software,
she admits multiple times that she didn't understand what
What's your background, John?
Software.
My background's in software. And
okay, so do you even have a bachelor's degree in any scientific area?
That has zero relevance to
of course it does. It has zero relevance. You have an inability to even understanding what you know or what you don't know. You can't even read a publication and comprehend it in a biological manner. Seriously.
I can't read a publication and comprehend it?
I don't think you can.
Really? Okay, so you don't think you really
I don't think you can. You don't even have an undergraduate degree in a scientific area.
Okay, so are
you have you don't,
Jason,
correct?
Hey, you let me respond?
Go for it. Let him respond.
So let's think about this for 1 second as you
let's think about it.
You make a very imbecilic position.
How's that imbecilic?
There come the insults.
If you let me respond, I'll explain it to you, okay? So in the context of knowledge and understanding, what is necessary? You need to have the intelligence quotient to be able to comprehend a premise and information. And then you need to have a knowledge base source in order to acquire the information that you can now comprehend. So
which you don't have, according to people who are actually
give him the rope to hang himself.
Let him finish.
So now in the modern era of technology in which we live, can I go on Harvard X, Open MIT, or any of those other sources and literally engage in the exact same lectures that would be experienced by somebody who's getting a degree in X?
So you're saying that
obviously the answer is yes. Now,
no, wait a minute. You're
the
saying
answer is not yes.
Can you essentially get an education, a 4-year education in biology without ever having to go to a university? Is that possible? It's possible. It's highly unlikely. Most people who claim to be able to comprehend information at that level without going to any formal education that's not the case.
So do you think when I was in college,
I'd still like to respond.
Atheist Jr. wanted to get in.
Did you?
Yes, I did. Oh my Lord.
Okay, so I didn't realize that marketing degrees required you to take biological classes.
So I've actually been very interested in learning. So I took all sorts of classes. I'm very fascinated with knowledge. And by the way, the sidebar, one of my personal objectives in life is to be a information-based modern version of a Renaissance man, which is to be extremely knowledgeable on a variety of topics.
It's
one of the
go back to school.
It's one of
How's
the
that?
Okay, so Jason, do you think that the only way to gain knowledge is if you go to a formal university and setting?
I think that people that make claims. I think the people that make claims that they're autodidacts and that they can comprehend knowledge at a terminal PhD level, that when they haven't had any training in those areas, are fooling themselves. I think that's very, very small number of people.
Understand the basics of, if you take the time to go and learn the basics.
It's possible. It's highly unlikely.
And then you go through and under the auspice and understanding that, hey, I'm not going to understand all this initially. Therefore, I need to identify the different pieces that I don't understand and go.
It's his first fucking debate, man.
You can't even understand what you don't understand. You can't even know what you don't know.
My turn.
You're trying to claim that you think you know stuff at the level of a PhD.
Let Atheist Jr. respond.
So there's both Nick and Randolph are backstage.
Jason, you talk a big game, bro. What's your background?
I have a PhD. I have a PhD in quantitative climatology.
Ooh, awesome. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
it is fantastic.
University of Idaho, tier 1 university.
That therefore you must A, have a higher IQ than me, and B.
No,
he didn't say that.
No, I didn't say I had a higher IQ.
He didn't say that.
I didn't say you did. I asked you a question.
Have you ever been diagnosed with ADD?
What's the question?
I asked you a question. If that's your perspective about me, for example, because I don't
That
have a
what?
PhD, therefore I wouldn't be able to have the comprehensive ability intellectually.
You listen.
to comprehend
You have been the one going on your stream making really strong claims about having really detailed knowledge about evolutionary biology. I asked you what your evolutionary biology background is, and it's not anything. If I look, if I didn't have a PhD
again,
in climatology
position,
and I went out and
unless
blabbed on and on
I
about
couldn't
it,
know anything about it. Is that your point?
say it again.
So is it your position that unless I have a piece of paper in specific topic, I could therefore have no knowledge of the topic?
The probability
so
of you being able to.
So you want to play probability?
Let him answer.
You asked me a question. The probability of you being able to articulate and understand extremely high levels of evolutionary biology without ever having any formal background in that is highly, highly unlikely. It's not impossible, but it's highly unlikely.
So
okay, what I would like to say, and I'm just going to start over talking people because that's what Maddox does. So that's what I'm going to do to start talking.
I'll be quiet.
What I would say is that I don't think he was saying that you need to have a diploma in a field to understand it. The difference being,
let him talk.
He literally said to go back.
Let him talk, please.
I may be a layman on the topic, but the difference between me and you is I'm agreeing with
Maddox. You should go back to school because you've been running your mouth on this topic at your stream over and over again. If you're going to run your mouth on your stream, maybe you should go back to school. This would be a great area to go back to school for.
Oh man, this is too good.
Well, John, just for a few, John,
Patriot University.
For a few seconds. Can you stop over talking Atheist Jr.?
I'm sorry.
This is pretty much about, and can you just shut up for a few seconds?
Okay, like I was saying, I may be a layman on the topic of biology or evolution, but the difference is I'm agreeing with the scientific consensus. Kent Hovind and you are challenging it. So if you're going to challenge the scientific consensus, you better be qualified.
Exactly.
And I almost forget what I was going to say because it's been so long, but yeah, I forgot what I was going to say earlier, but just go ahead, Jason.
When you remember it, we'll let you go back on.
So we're gonna let LPP respond, but then Nick and then Randolph are gonna be the people that probably actually respond if any questions are asked. But LPP,
I always love arrogant pricks like Jason. He thinks
so name calling that's okay with you?
Well, he's implying that the only way I could possibly comprehend a topic in a subject.
I was having too much fun over there.
If I go to school, like a formal school for it, even though traditional academia is having all sorts of issues. But more importantly,
here we go.
I can access the information if I take the time to do so. Like, this is recognized that this is possible to be done. And from there, you can
So says you.
Well, I think given the fact that there's a lot of venture capital being injected into that concept, I would say it's been identified as a very tangible and successful model. So it's a major component or industry that's being developed right now for a variety of reasons. One of which, it's more efficient. And you can excel and hyper focus on a specific topic that you're interested in, rather than having to go through a bunch of time wasting, outdated structure, and you can just focus, which is what I believe
FUCUS
concept.
FUCUS. What does that spell? And okay,
Randolph or Nick.
We're gonna actually bring in Nick and. Nick, we have been midnight ranting on should evolution be taught in public schools. How are you, and what are your thoughts on either the topic or the debate? Debate or the topic? Okay.
I am well, thank you. Oh dear Lord, I've had a flurry of thoughts and I can't keep up with the conversation, and I'm afraid of where to go in. I think there was some
first,
excellent,
buddy.
Yeah. Well, yes and no, maybe. I think there were excellent points really made by all sides, honestly, and I often have to struggle to find good points by all sides to just try to start with as level a playing field as I can. In this case, I think I think there have been some good points by all sides, but I think the goalposts on what we're actually talking about has been moved, and that tends to happen, when things get a little heated. I will say this: this is going to sound like a lecture, but hey, half of what I say does anyway. So, we were talking about how and when, if you go into an after party or this or that, and when things get heated. I have to believe that it's a lot of fun to be in the KKK, and the reason is because it's about hatred, and we really. Hatred is very cathartic. I mean, besides the fact that there's a sense of community, besides the fact of all these other things, it's about hatred. You can't hate and get angry at others without assuming a sense of superiority in some way or another. So we inherently find anger, hatred, vitriol ourselves. We find it cathartic, and we enjoy engaging in it in some level. And a lot of people feel bad afterwards, and they say, oh shit, I shouldn't have done that. I certainly do that all the time because I'm not immune. Please don't make this sound like I'm saying I'm immune, but that's why we tend to enjoy it. That's why I enjoy it. So but my goal here, and my goal sort of everywhere in life has always been, I've been an educator in some way or another my entire life. And my goal is to educate. And it's been my experience that you can't educate people when you're angry and when you're doing things that make them angry. So if my position as an atheist and even as an anti-theist is of value to me, the only way I can push that forward, which I think is important, and I think it's even more important than my own feelings on other areas and areas that I certainly get triggered on. The only way I can do that is to do my best to tend my own garden, and if the other side gets angry, they get angry. If they start hurling insults, they start hurling insults, and try not to engage back. And for atheists, well, for everybody, this is an issue. But what I find interesting, well, I don't know. I've always been a fan of a number of the ideas of Christianity. But Gandhi once said, I like Christianity. I love your Jesus. It's his followers that I have a problem with. And, that's one group where I've always been dismayed that they have not always met the bar that their own book states for so many of life's activities. And I'll wrap it up by saying that I think in a fight, the blame of the fight goes to the smarter side. And since I really think that's my side, boy, do I try to avoid them. And that's it. Enough of the lecture. I apologize for that, and thank you for letting me in.
Did you remember what you wanted to say, Atheist Jr.?
Yeah, more or less. I think I did.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, well, I found it interesting that LPP asked what the relevance was when Jason asked him what his educational background, considering that LPP asked me the same question when we talked yesterday.
Oh. And so AJ, let me respond to that real quick. I can explain that. So the reason
I'm not done.
Well, let me just answer your question real quick, because you might want to.
I didn't ask a question. Go ahead.
The point you're making.
John, can you please stop interrupting people and let them finish first? John, can you please stop interrupting people? John,
John, you're absolutely right. John, you're absolutely right. But here's the thing: you usually make kind of compound points, and if everybody interrupts everybody at the first objection, and there's been a tremendous amount of that, nobody will achieve absolutely anything. I promise you that. So I'm going to assume you object to every word he says, other than the word "the."
Actually,
and so,
no, Nick. The point I was making is.
And you just
can you let him make his point first?
I'll be done.
Can you let him make his point first? Let AJ make his point. This is the show that's about his debate. Let him talk.
Okay. I'm just going to repeat what I said. No, never mind. I think if you think that I'm not very well educated on protein synthesis or whatever it was you were talking about, I think it's interesting that your side is that of Kent Hovind,
Right.
So what does that say about your position? Do you think Kent Hovind is well educated in this topic? The topic that never came up during the debate because the topic was about the curriculum of public schools and not the specifics of genetics. It sounds to me like maybe your word salad was difficult to understand because that's intentional, because you're trying to obfuscate what your actual point is, and you're just a bad communicator. But instead, you think that if someone doesn't understand you, that's because they're stupid, and then you make fun of them. Maybe you need to work on being a better communicator. If I'm not educated about it, then teach me. Don't insult me. I'm done.
Okay.
Okay, John.
So the initial thing you were bringing up was why was I asking about your education? So I was asking about your education because in communication, usually if you find a common ground or a topic of which both know, or if there is analogous or literal comparisons that can be made, it makes it much easier to communicate a concept. So if I remember correctly, your background and professionally now is in cybersecurity, correct?
Yeah, that's what I was going to school for. Sorry.
Okay, so the instant I knew your background was in cybersecurity, I assumed that you understood the basics of computer science, programming, coding, et cetera, and given the fact that in the context of protein synthesis, all of those things are, and communication systems, all of those things are fundamental components, I assumed that we would be very rapidly able to discuss the topic, assuming, and the relevance and the comparison, assuming you understood basic synthesis. I then proceeded to find out that in what you just called word salad was that you didn't know what the ribosome was, you didn't know about codons, mRNA, the transcription and translation process, elongation, and so on and so forth. And that was, if you had understood all of that, you wouldn't have thought it was word salad, and B, I would have been able to make direct comparisons to principles in technology, which is the whole point. So number one, as I said, to reiterate, there was a specific reason I was asking that question, to find the common ground portion. And number two, what I was talking about was not word salad.
Yeah, but you're conflating technology with genetics, and I had a fundamental disagreement with that.
Right, and the reason that and that's why ultimately we came down to the what made you all upset was your insistence that it's not technology when it is recognized in peer-reviewed PhD literature that it is technology, and it's out the wazoo of all these things. And
can you provide that evidence? And can you provide that?
Yeah, that's already been debunked by several people, including Erica and Jackson Wheat.
Good Lord, it has not been debunked.
It has.
This is a peer-reviewed premise that, I mean, we've got quaternary.
No, it's just you not being able to figure out what an analogy is. That's all it is. It's literally all it is.
Okay, so should I hop on my laptop and pull up the peer-reviewed papers from secular journals?
There's no peer-reviewed papers that will tell you that there's machine technology in the human body. Yes.
You go pull that up, but then we're gonna bring in Randolph.
On that, Peter?
I just had one more comment I wanted to make.
Go ahead.
I would say paste that link in the private chat, and the disagreement that we had near the end, and I wasn't there for most of the stream. I don't think we talked for longer than like 45 minutes, maybe. I could be wrong about that, but all I said was because I felt like you were conflating the tiny machine-like organisms that function inside of DNA, you know, the things that look like they're walking around, calling those machines or robots. And all I said was that robots are made out of metal, not sinew, bone, and tissue. That's all I said. And then everyone on the chat started like going off on me.
I mean, we're creating, the reason for that was people, at that point, people's incredulity was reaching levels of like, you actually, and you continue to double down on that position that robots are only made out of metal. Like, we're building nanobots and nanites
Who's
right
we?
now.
Okay. You are?
To the rest of the people in the chat, am I wrong about this?
By the way, when you rage quit,
nope.
the are you
didn't
familiar
rage
with
quit.
are you familiar with nano cars that are powered by protons?
I rage quit. I'm proud of that fact.
So are you familiar with nano cars that are powered by protons?
Are robots made out of metal?
All right, so are you familiar with nano cars that are made out of molecules, right? That are powered by protons. This is an example.
We were talking about microorganisms in the DNA, the little microstructures.
Okay, and I'm talking about things such as like the helicase and
Yeah, you're changing the subject.
And no, I'm not changing the subject. I'm literally addressing the point you're making with literal examples. Is the point that I'm making, and beyond that, in biotech companies around the globe, there is billions of dollars being invested in creating molecular robots. Like this is what is there's billions of dollars being invested in this.
What is a nano car? You know what is amazing about his argument is he recognizes that there are people investing millions in nanotechnology and still believes in like a god. I mean, that's hilarious to me in itself. And I apologize for cutting out. My internet crashed, and I know LPP was kind of trashing me, saying I was ranting for a while. But I just want to ask you a question, LPP. Are you the person that I joined their chat and you were calling me a disgusting bigot because I believe that people from ancient years ago should have rejected slavery? Was that your channel? I just want to know.
I don't. If this happened on my channel, no. I don't call people bigots, so it wasn't me that said that. But
no, that was you. That was definitely you. You definitely called me a disgusting bigot because I said that people from ancient years ago should have realized that slavery was wrong. And you said, well, no, I'm actually a bigot because I'm being prejudiced to the people who own slaves. That was you. That was you, sir. That was you.
That was on my channel, or that was me specifically?
That was you specifically.
Which stream was this? Let's back this up.
LPP, you know what stream it was.
No, I don't. So back it up.
Did you not have a stream about racism and about how racism was justified? No, I'm sorry. Slavery.
Definitely wasn't me.
Not racism, slavery.
No, definitely wasn't me.
That was you, sir.
That was not me, bro. You're mixing people up. That was not me.
Sorry, that was you.
I have never had a stream about justifying slavery.
I'm going to interrupt you guys because I'm going to bring in Randolph. So, Randolph, we have been midnight ranting on should evolution be taught in public schools. How are you, and what are your thoughts about either the debate or the topic, or tacos? It's our common theme.
Hello. So
What's
I
up,
guess
Randolph?
tacos
There was a
have
debate?
evolved over time, and they've been just getting more delicious, haven't they? Yeah, I think evolution should be taught in schools. Here in Canada, it is taught in schools, starting from kindergarten all the way through grade 12. In Ontario, up to grade 13, because they have a 13th there. It's also taught in the universities. It is standard science. They start off very basic, and in the higher grades, they get into more detail. And it's fantastic. It's taught with impartiality. We have very little pushback on it here in Canada. But as I understand, in other countries, such as the US, there are groups of people who are quite loud and are able to push back very strongly against it, and that makes me sad because it is legitimate, real science that is very useful. It is used in vaccine creation. In fact, there are certain types of vaccines. My understanding is, maybe somebody here knows more than I do, but I was reading about this a few years ago, that there's certain disease, certain flus or something like that, that they accelerate the evolution in the lab, and then they make vaccines for that before it comes out in the wild, so we can get a pre-vaccinated against it, pre-immunized. So if I'm wrong about this, feel free to correct me. I'd love to know if I'm wrong, but that's my understanding. Is there's different applications for evolutionary science, and that's just one of many. So I definitely favor it. It's good for world progress. It's good for better quality of life for everyone in the long run. It's one of the most important subjects to learn, along with a number of others. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Randolph.
Randolph, excellent point. And I wanted to also say to Nick, man, Nick, you came in and gave a great argument about how we get triggered, basically, whether it's atheists or whether it's believers, that we get triggered about certain things. And that's fair. And that's absolutely fair. For me, it's watching people like LPP or Kent Hovind, who obviously are smart enough to learn all the apologetics. They learn all of these things. They know all the arguments and still accept a God. It's amazing to me how they have to bend over backwards to this. And to me, it's not because they actually believe in a God. It's because they're just too far. They're just too committed.
I do have a quick question for John. In our debate, a modern day debate recently, you did make one point about, you said that the Royal Society reviewed something that I'd written, and I've been trying to find it and I can't. So I'm very interested in the reference. If you could kindly share that, and maybe in the private chat, I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, I'm on my phone right now, so I won't be able to do that. It's in a
later, then you can get it to me anytime. I'd love to.
If you
love to
have
take
the
a look at it.
if you look in our in the stream, the title of it is in the PowerPoint that I used, and you should be able to just Google it from there.
I'll take another look there. I've been trying to find it, so I do need some help finding it.
It came up. It was on. I want to say, if I remember correctly, I think it was like 5 results down when I Googled.
Okay.
I'll think of the query that I used.
Sure, I'll take another look too.
This guy is a pathological liar.
There were 2 comments I want to make. The first was thank you very much for that comment, and I want to point out it's a spectrum. It's not a binary thing. I get triggered. Everybody gets triggered, and the only thing that I've sort of learned is I get my messages across better when I learn to keep that in check. And I still don't. I just get better, and I'm never gonna. It's always gonna. I'm a human being, right? It's like biases. You can get better at overcoming them, but you're not gonna.
Nick, but is that an absolute statement from you? Really?
You know what, Randolph? You know what? They just brought your dumbass in here. Okay. And so, and then the other thing is, I like Randolph's point. Well, I did like Randolph's point until he opened his mouth about the applications of evolution, because I mean, for example, it's how we identified the problem with overuse of antibiotics, which has become a huge problem, and it's it's a potential before antibiotics and before fluorination and a bunch of other things, but antibiotics being a cornerstone, the average human life expectancy was about 34. Now it's much higher, and antibiotics is a cornerstone of that, but we're developing superbugs because of overuse resistance. And the reason we know this and we know how to combat it is because we understand evolution. So and that's just one example. Randolph's got a great, so there are so many examples of how this is applied and used and predictive of things. So my view is, at least on Hovind, I don't think he believes a word of what he's saying. I think it's a scam. But
and there's so many examples of it in practical use today because it works, because science works. And here's my response to you for what you said earlier.
COVID-19.
There you go.
Hey, LPP, did everybody hear what the doofus Randolph Richardson just said? Did everybody hear what
LPP, I got a question
the doofus Randolph Richardson just said?
Darth Dawkins has been trying to trigger me for years.
LPP,
this is the guy who's the head of Canadian Atheists.
Christ,
I mean,
Peter.
have you ever heard, and you're going to have to excuse me, folks, have you ever heard such a dumb fuck in your whole life?
Maudy got him singing Kumbaya. That's all that was worth every penny.
LPP, I got a question, buddy.
Kumbaya, my lord.
Oh my God, Peter.
That's not me.
Wow,
that's not me. That wasn't me.
That was Nick.
I want to have that one. I need that one in my collection.
All right,
nice
you were talking about nano cars. Can you briefly explain what those are?
Is this James Tour's work?
Well, I mean, there's actually, I think it was 2016 is when it started. They've every year they have a global nano car competition, and groups from universities around and different research groups all compete to create different ones. They've got they've actually gotten out to like trucks now, and they've got all sorts of stuff that can actually carry loads. And the macro objective of the technology is, well, there's a variety of reasons for it, but one of which, and it's currently being tested in experiments right now, is being able to be programmed to carry like drugs for cancers specifically, and then be able to enter the cell, unload the drug that's going to hyper target a specific cancer type. And but it's powered by they've got them like powered by protons and I forget the other power source they're using.
You're saying nano cars? That's what you're talking about?
Hang on, they have literal like axles, wheels. I mean, it's nuts. Like the initial test one they did on, apparently gold is actually a really great substance from a binding perspective for the wheels to be able to rotate. But it's pretty interesting. Like it's not just like an analogy. I mean, it's structured.
I get it, but what was it designed to do initially?
What do you mean? Was it
like what was it designed for?
I mean, the design was to build a component that can a machine that can operate like a vehicle.
I think it would be a proof of concept.
I mean, according to Wikipedia, everything you just said is wrong.
Okay.
Right. It says rather it was designed to answer the question of how fullerenes move about on metal surfaces.
Can you guys cross-reference that with the rational?
So what point does it have to do in relation to the nano car machine that I was talking about and what's now being used for? Like you talking about?
You said it started in 2015, correct?
I think the competition was 2016. Yeah, but
it started in 2005.
Well,
okay.
All right, this is semantics. That's semantics.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure that's salient to his argument whether or not.
I would agree. Yeah.
It's semantics.
I mean, I don't. I would just like to know if he knows what he's talking about, and this proves he doesn't.
So why don't you Google 2016 nano car competition? How about you do that, and then find out if what I just said is false or true.
But what does that have to do with our debate topic, though?
Again, LPP, can you answer?
Because he doesn't know everything like you do. That's what I'm proving.
I want to ask.
He said you have to know everything.
Okay, so
which is
I've
bullshit.
to know everything about a topic. I've never claimed to know everything about this.
You just said he had to. What are you talking about?
Well, let's apply some charity and assume that either he misspoke or because I think we're going to argue about this, and it has nothing to do with the topic. I think there are other more interesting things to discuss.
I agree. I agree. But LPP, let me just ask you this. Let me ask you this.
Wait. He wants to respond to this.
My turn to respond, buddy.
Go ahead.
Okay, so Bird's been talking a big game.
I'm not talking a big game. What are you talking about?
His response was what he just said was clearly designed to be an instigator of confrontation.
It is. Just like yours, buddy.
I know, amazing. It happens like that sometimes. Then you wonder why people fight back. Shocker. Wow. So
eat your own words, homie.
Well, that's fine.
This is his first debate, and you said he has to know about protein synthesis. No, he doesn't.
So anytime. What's your point?
I just made my point. You said this is his very first debate, and you said he has to know about protein synthesis, and he doesn't because Kent Hovind doesn't know a fucking thing about protein synthesis.
I'm a bad boy. So I'm not really following how.
I'm sorry. I laid it out plain and simple. I'm done. That's it.
Research into nano cars was started has any relevance in relation to the overall topic.
Exactly.
None of this is relevant to the debate he had. No, none of it. Literally none of it.
My bigger question for LPP is how you are so damn smart and intelligent about all of these things that are going on with actual modern science while still believing in a designer God. How do you do that? I mean, how do you get the part of your brain that goes, man can create this, and this, and then, this must be designed.
And not having one peer-reviewed paper on the subject.
So let me
just want to add that in.
Fundamentally, one of the reasons I find it a much more rational conclusion that an intelligent agent was necessary is that it is now a documented reality that.
Sorry, why is that rational?
that the genetic code is not only is it have multiple layers, it is multiplexed. Is a multiplex code that's optimized in the extreme, and we know this. Like, this is not me making this up. I can pull up, if I go on my laptop, I can pull up the paper on the exact
LPP.
topic.
Let's assume that that's accurate.
Hold on. Let me cut the head off the snake here. Let me cut the head off the snake here.
No.
That same DNA code, LPP, is powering COVID-19, which is killing
What the hell are you
killing
talking about?
millions of people. It's
Dude,
the same code. It's the same.
Oh
It's the same design. It's the same design.
Okay.
I assume he had I'd like to hear his point. I think he had a point. So.
Okay. So
We'll finish your point, and then we're gonna bring in Pat.
all right. So if Soldier of Science, who doesn't actually know anything about science, can just keep his mouth shut, I think get to my point. So in the context of
Mom, you are being extremely rude here.
Let's listen to the computer scientist here. He's probably going to teach everyone in the scientific community with his peer-reviewed papers that will debunk evolution. I can't wait for him to get the Nobel Prize of Science. I can't wait.
Is your sarcasm done yet?
No, he's serious.
Okay, cool. So you asked me why I believe this and why I come to the conclusion. I don't believe this based on faith. I've made this very clear in many of my debates and my topics and of discussion, is that I didn't come into this from, I'm just going to believe and, I'm going to ignore everything. No, I actually purposely spent almost a decade of my life going down the rabbit holes and looking to see if the conclusion that a external higher agent was necessary for my existence was the logical, plausible, and probable conclusion from a macro point of view, not from one specific little niche piece of evidence or talking point, but from a macro mosaic evidentiary perspective. And then when you get into things such as it is a recognized reality that we have a multiplexed code base, which is necessary for biological systems to exist, that is controlling X, Y, Z axes and has time-based variable controls with element logic.
And we know how it formed.
We do not know how it formed, Peter. We do
know how it formed.
We do not, man. There's $10 million on the line right now for anybody who can figure it out. So don't give me that crap, man.
We'll go back. We'll go back.
You don't
discussion.
So anyway, my
you
point
don't know, but we know.
I'm using one of many pieces of examples that I could use in this context. I'm using one. Is we didn't even recognize what to look for until our technology, I'm talking about human design technology, expanded and was massively developed. We didn't even know what to look for. Now that we have some of the functional capacities, it's like, I wonder if there's similar things like this happening in biological systems. And it turns out that there is, only that it's way more advanced and way more functional than the best stuff that we've come up with. That's why there's a whole industry of biomimicry that's exploding, because we're realizing, it turns out that...
And not only didn't we know where to look for, your God didn't, because he never mentioned any of this in the Bible.
Don't make another thing that he has to respond to. Then that just
Newman, focus. Newman, focus.
I love so Amy, I'm going to say one thing and then I'll shut up and let you bring on the next stuff. And Peter wonders why he has gotten muted on my channel. Man, there's no evidence to support the position that I was making earlier. Oh my goodness gracious! I yield.
Can I just thank you for muting me on your channel, because I'm never on there, so it doesn't make any difference.
I don't think Peter wonders.
You name checked him, but you just made the comment. So there we go. And I'm going to switch me out for Pat. Pat, we are midnight ranting on should evolution be taught in public schools. How are you? And what are your thoughts on the subject, the debate, or tacos? And then when Pat is done, you guys can go back into open conversation and respond to anything what was said. But Pat, how are you? And what are your thoughts? Oh, not...
Hi, Amy.
Hi, thanks for having me. Tacos are great. Evolution should be taught in school. I will say one thing, going back to Jason's topic. I'm an educator now, and in my second career, I would say that the issues regarding autodidactic learning are, it's a complex field, but I would caution someone like LPP, who obviously has done a lot of independent thought and research on the topic. My former training was in the field of microbiology. So even though I have an advanced degree in the field, I don't have a terminal degree in that field, and I have to constantly review peer-reviewed literature to make sure I'm staying up on the topic. And I've since I've left that field, I don't keep up on it like I should. With that being said, one problem with the autodidactic style is, in my experience, and this is from other professional educators, it presents a sense of false bravado in a field. Because one thing autodidactic learning does not engage in is critical analysis of understanding. Self-education is great, and it's a powerful tool, and I think people should engage in it more often. The problem is, without a metric of evaluation of your abilities, it is sometimes gaps in knowledge aren't filled in properly like it would be in a traditional educational format where you take quizzes, have assignments, and have someone with the specialized expertise in the field helping you fill in your own gaps in knowledge. So I would just caution, I've never met LPP before, I've never watched a debate he's been in. I'm going to take him as an honest participant in this discussion. But even those that have terminal degrees have to self-watch, because you need to make sure that you don't have, an inflated sense of your own understanding in a field. I can tell you, in the 25 years since I left the field of microbiology, and we used to call it molecular biology back there, and gene manipulation before, now it's all molecular bio, that, the techniques for gene manipulation have changed. I worked in the field of plasmid insertion. I can tell you all about plasmids, insertion methods, and various methods within bacteria, but I would have been the first person to tell you that when it comes to the integration to eukaryotic cell systems, I would have been remiss and had to go back to literature. And in that, I still would have had to check with people to make sure my understanding was complete and knowledgeable. So while autodidactic learning is true, as Jason pointed out, it's extremely rare, and one of the biggest problems with autodidactic styles, even first of all, if you're truly an autodidact, the requirement to have instruments of measurement are important, but less necessary. But for those that aren't true autodidacts, there is the dilemma of, am I learning what I'm supposed to be learning, and am I able to formulate and credibly relay what I've learned? And I'm not saying that's the case with you, LPP, but I would, just picking up a peer-reviewed journal article doesn't mean you're looking across a broad spectrum. It also doesn't mean that you're sampling a large enough sample size in the overall body of or field of research that you're trying to gain some expertise in. That's my only caution. That's it.
No, Pat, that's a very fair point. I actually recognize that. I actually looked into. I was involved in a startup that was building a platform to aggregate information specifically to account for some of those issues that you were referring to. And I completely agree with you. And I think that one of the, well, two things. Number one, if you guys think that I just jumped into reading peer-reviewed papers, that's I actually find that rather hysterical. You think that's what I would do? Earlier, before you came off, Pat, when Jason was trash talking me, I was relayed multiple times that addressing the concept you were in the concerns you were referring to. I did for all the basics to get back up to snuff and baseline understanding before diving into anything more advanced. I used a combination of OpenMIT, Harvard X, Stanford. As I'm sure you're aware, given your educational background, pretty much every major institution on the planet has developed a open source access to education. It's a matter of whether or not you have the incentive and are willing to spend the time to go down and be able to follow the exact same course that a official quote unquote student would do. Now, obviously, there's still potential ramification or potential liabilities that you might not get as structured in education. I agree completely. I mean, I don't claim that in any way, shape, form, or fashion. However, the secondary point you made about keeping up to speed, that's one of the points I've made, not tonight, but I've made in other encounters, is that I am actively searching and reading the latest papers, and on purpose, because I want to stay up with the latest and greatest and most interesting things, because it blows my mind, the new things that keep being discovered. I mean, like freaking virtual photons for communication inside of biological systems, stuff like that. Like, it's nuts. When you look at what's happening with in the chemistry side of what they're learning about with quantum enzymes and such, it's mind-bending stuff. And to really comprehend what is going on the molecular level in order for biological systems to function, as I'm sure you discovered many times in your work, it's mind-bending stuff.
Well, I left that field. So I left biology, went into a career in government, and then came out of that career in government. And now I work in the realm of history and archaeology. So,
nice.
Yeah.
But a quick sidebar. One of the points I was going to make to AJ, if his conversation I continued the other night, was he's in cybersecurity. One of the things, my background's in tech, and one of the things that blew my mind that I learned about was, like, in eukaryotes, you've got dual authentication security protocols, and for entering and exiting the nucleus, and the cell membrane in general. But like, when I was looking at the mechanisms and the protein structure and the different components that are necessary to authorize or enable a dual authentication protocol, that kind of stuff, just like, you got to be kidding me. When you look at it from a tech standpoint, I don't think there's a remotely sane human on this planet that would say that dual authentication could create itself. And when you think about just the paradoxes that are necessary in terms of simultaneous functionality.
Well, see, this is where I'm going to jump in, but you're talking about, transport membrane specificity, right? So those are molecules that you're calling it dual authentication. The fact that a molecule has to present two unique antigens in order to cross a membrane into the nucleus isn't a dual authentication system. You're drawing a parallel. It's a protein recognition system, is it not? I mean, as a protein recognizing another protein, right? But you're using I'm saying is you're conflating. Let me finish. You're conflating two terms. You're conflating a biological system, the terminology and vocabulary of a biological system, and you're overlaying a technological system to it, and drawing, in a way, you're creating a false parallel, and so you're creating a false analogy. An analogy, to be correct, one is a mechanical system. If you want to say a biological system can act as a mechanical system, there are some parallels, but to say this is technology, it's not, because this is biology. Because we also have poorly functioning and underperforming enzymes that do the same thing. So when an enzyme is not working properly, you no longer have a dual recognition system, as you would call it. And what we have with this is a faulty biological system. So in some cases, we still have proteins being transported across membranes with a single recognition system, as you would call it, because that molecule, that receptor, is faulty, or in some way we'd call it mutated. And so the biological system can still function often when there are anomalies, where a true technology system wouldn't recognize, right? So
are you suggesting that because something is broken but can still function, that removes the significance of the fully operational system?
No. What I'm saying is you're drawing false parallels, because you're saying that one's a mechanical system versus a biological system. And I listened to the entire debate tonight. I didn't jump in. I thought it was very interesting. But I do think that that's one of the issues I have with particularly engineers and physicists, is they want to reduce things, biological systems, to mechanical systems. It's no different than the structure of flagellum and the protein pump of flagellum, which powers bacterial movement, right? They go, oh, it's a machine. Well, it's a biological machine. No different than a photosynthesizing template allows you, to have both light and dark cycles of photosynthesis. Now, if you want to say those are machines, then, we can say machines anything, because these are biological systems that have developed through evolutionary biology to allow these systems to work. They are not machines that we can't just put these together and make them function, because if we did, we could build life, and we aren't to that point yet.
Hang on, so you're saying that because we can't build it, therefore it's not a machine?
No, I'm saying that it doesn't function as a machine. It's a biological system, no different than you're a machine. You can make the analogy that my body's a machine, but it's not.
By definition, so are you suggesting that the helicase is not a molecular machine?
He doesn't know any of these things. He has all these beliefs because he doesn't know any of these things. He has all these beliefs because in order for his beliefs to be valid, they must be true.
All right,
can I just say the guy who is way more qualified than me is agreeing with my point? Just wanted to say that.
Okay,
yeah,
so
I earlier I pointed out that you don't understand analogies,
okay,
John, and I think that was just pointed out to you very eloquently, and you still don't understand them.
Look, I want to say one.
Pat, did you read 25 years ago, per your own admission?
That Pat's statement, I mean, look, John, if you are truly like, look, you want to explore more in this area, you want to learn more, I think that it is not unreasonable to what Pat is saying to at least take that into consideration, that you're taking your background in a particular area and overlaying some parallels. You're tapping into knowledge that you have technologically, and you're attempting to overlay it with biology. It's not impossible that may be a false equivalence, right? I mean, it's not. You would agree with that, maybe.
I would say maybe. However, if you go and read papers on this, it is specifically stated in peer-reviewed papers that the whole it being an analogy thing.
This guy is a pathological.
Okay, let John finish.
If you don't believe me, I will happily bet you guys whatever you want, and I'll pull up papers which prove what I'm saying.
Well, prove what? I think he's only objecting to the fact that he says that the analogy breaks down all analogies break down eventually, and it sounds like what he's saying is it actually breaks down rapidly.
And what I'm saying is that is a false assumption that used to be the standard position by a lot of folks back in the 70s and 80s, and even into the early 90s. And then as technology and our ability to imaging has increased exponentially, a significant portion of the most advanced imaging technologies have happened in the last decade. There has been now that we're being able to actually get video of proteins in action, this whole premise is of like the actual mechanical functionality of these things has been proven beyond doubt.
Well, okay,
please post the peer-reviewed links in the private chat. Still waiting.
This is the issue.
I'm curious what Pat's got to say.
This saying something is you're using, again, you're conflating terms. Biomechanics is the synthesis of a biological system that has the illusion of mechanical apparatus. Just like bones and muscles, when a body moves, we call it mechanical motion, right? Biomechanics doesn't mean that the human system, the biological system, is a machine. It may have some similarities, some parallels, and even some kinetic actions which make it look like a machine. We can calculate how far someone can jump based on their body mass, muscle density, and these other things. But ultimately, the biological system is not a machine in the common usage of the term. A system in of itself, you can say a machine's a system, but unlike a machine, biological systems can replicate themselves. And until machines start doing so without a system that corrects, guides, and causes them evolutionary development, they're really not a biological system. So some of the parallels break down. I'm not saying you're wrong entirely, but you're drawing analogies that aren't.
Hang on, man. So are you suggesting that if which by the way, there's attempts to do this, except that the energy problems and there's a variety of other issues that we haven't been able to solve yet. The whole concept of a self-replicating machine is like a ultimate, potentially an ultimate achievement. Like if you could pull that off, that's
right. But see, you're leaving out an important part. I said with the ability to evolve.
I'm addressing your point there. So you said that you can't consider it a machine because ours don't self-replicate. So you're
That was one of several. He
That was
actually gave
one of
its most
several
recent.
premises for the difference
Then
between.
we can't do a direct comparison. And my point is, I made this a direct assertion earlier, was that until recently, until our technology advanced to a certain point, we didn't even know what to look for. So case in point, the example I gave earlier in relation to multiplex code, the concept has been around for a while, but it was so complicated and too difficult to even think about actually implementing in our information processing systems. It was purely theoretical. Then our technology started to develop, and our processing speed and our computer technology started to reach the point where, hey, we actually can be able to do this. Well, then somebody said, I wonder if this same logic applies in the genetic code. So they started looking, and then it turned out, oh, yes, it did. So, and then sometimes they were finding dual use syntax and time-based controls, all this other kind of stuff in the genetic code, which then is able to program, successfully 3D print through ribosomes polypeptide chains and for the different components of nanomachines. Like, this is what we're discovering. Like, we didn't know this. I mean, we had suspicions. It was originally analogies, and now we've discovered that, oh wait, it's not just an analogy. It's this is exactly the same.
Let me actually turn that on its head for 1 second. If that's the case, then wouldn't human beings therefore just be machines? And could you not make the argument that then perhaps the universe is designed in such a way that machines exist, and our brains, what we believe is consciousness, is nothing more than an advanced machine that we will someday replicate? And if we in fact create an AI that is utterly indistinguishable by any means whatsoever from human consciousness, where then is the soul and or presumably well, I'll leave God out of it and say, where's free will and or the soul?
Hey, hands down. I mean, before you respond, that's the best argument, and I would even tack on to that if you believe that all of animals are machines, then is it only when we get to consciousness that we recognize that we are machines? Is that the only is that when we get there? Is the 99% of the other machines that live on the planet just not able to recognize they're machines?
I'm not really sure what the point of that was in relation to the topic. It doesn't really. So, in the context of was that Nick they were talking about? Whether or not what you said is the case, that has absolutely zero to do with what is the more rational conclusion for the original initiation of said technologies.
But what it seems to me, though, is that you're taking... Oh, sorry.
That's my point. So it's like, okay, even if at some point in the future, the things you were describing are able to occur, right? And we create our AI and all these other things, right? That has absolutely zero relevance to whether or not the original initiation can happen without intelligent agency, because I don't think that you would think that an AI that's equivalent to human consciousness would create itself.
You don't think? I'm sorry. I'm taking a minute to process that.
No,
but it wouldn't.
It's a gotcha question.
Well, hold on. No, there's an answer to it. No, I absolutely agree that we did not create ourselves, but it took. I'm not operating at 100% right now, so it's just going to take. Sometimes I'm a little slower, and people who know me have probably already been able to just tell that. So it just takes a minute for me because I want to answer your question, not what I think your question was. So it may take an extra second to process, so I'm as fair as possible. Now, I agree that, of course, we could not create ourselves, but if the universe itself is structured in such a way that machines can create, and we can get then into metaphysics and whether prime mover and other arguments, but I do think that this would undermine a conclusion that we are necessary. If the argument is that machines are identical to us, then that seems to undermine what I think the ultimate conclusion would be of even the creationist argument, because at that point, there's no difference between the universe appears to the rational view, at least equally, must be that the universe is constructed in such a way, however that construction happened, that these machines, including us, are capable of existing and or functioning in this way.
Right.
I'm not really sure what your point is in relation to
Is
whether
there
or
any
not
chance we can get back on topic of the actual stream?
evolution is the
Yeah,
more
nice.
reasonable conclusion for how all this stuff developed.
I just one last thing. I am sympathetic to LPP's point. I think science has some fascination in it, and I think I think there is a certain amount of I don't want to use, and in no way do I mean this insulting, but I do think that there is a desire among the human condition to see the wonderment that science can offer in its explanatory form, and maybe try to see the wonderment beyond that, and maybe in a way attempt to rationalize a belief in a greater power. So I'm sympathetic to that belief, because I'm not a theist myself. I'm an atheist, but I come from a theist family with, my dad was a geologist. So he was able to, compartmentalize his beliefs and his scientific background. So I am sympathetic to it. I think ultimately, there are some questions that we can't know. And personally, I don't want to try to fill in that lack of knowledge or understanding, but I do see, I'm not sympathetic. I mean, I'm sympathetic, and I don't want in any way denigrate what LPP is trying to do, because he is trying to learn the science and get a grasp on it, with the caveats that I mentioned earlier. So again, I think, I think it's a good discussion to have. And Atheist Jr., you're willing to debate, and that's half the battle. So for that, I take my hat off to you.
I would say LPP, you know what? I think you are an awesome intellect, and you come in and you try to debate against people who have opposing views. And I appreciate that. I really do. I think that you pose some challenging questions, but at the same time, knowing that I'm definitely not as smart as you, I just find it amazing how you know all of these things about technology, you know all of these things about evolution, and yet you still grasp on to a designer type of belief. And knowing that you've said that you're a tech guy, that you're familiar with databases, I just want to ask you this question. If you built your own database and you literally in the first column put, here's all the gods that all of humans have ever believed in. Here's all of them, right? For the last 200,000 years. And you recognize that you believe in one of those gods. And let's just say, and I know this to be fact, but it's over 2,000 major creation deity gods. Just give me that mathematical formula. If you know there's over 2,000 gods in 200,000 years, that's 2,001, right? I mean, you're at 2001 in that database, right? And then if you say to yourself, well, what's the fallout rate? What do we no longer believe in? What's the rejection rate in my tech ability? This ability to build a database of gods that I want to prove is right. It's 99%. The fallout rate is 99%, which means that if you're building a program based around a God belief, it's a 99.9% failure rate for 200,000 years. And you as a smart guy, you got to know that, right?
You're muted.
I'm not responding to this.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I just want to note that there's a lot of high praise here for John, which is very nice. I used to feel that way about you, John, but after our debate on modern day debate and the way you were very rude to me the other night on your own channel, I have different thoughts about this now.
Well, yeah. I'm so sorry that you were offended, Randolph, even though you were acting.
Oh, I'm not offended.
Extremely sorry. I'm sorry if your sensibilities have been offended.
I'm not offended.
It's not like you were. You weren't offended, even though you're making a public statement.
No, I'm telling you, I have different.
That's funny.
Listen carefully to what I said. I'm telling you, I have different thoughts about you now. I didn't say I was offended. Big difference.
I think he's saying he maybe questions your motives where earlier he did not, is what it sounds like he's saying.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
So is that a
something like that? Mm-hmm.
So is that a long-winded way of saying that you don't think I'm as big of an asshole as you thought I was, or that you still think I'm an asshole? What position is that?
I didn't think you were before that, but the fact that you're asking that question, I wonder if that might be psychological projection.
No, I'm just asking a direct question.
It's
You-
just
like,
him.
you
It's
always
just
dance
him
around.
trying to get
Answer the
another
question.
ad hominem in because he can't have a discussion without ad hominem
I wasn't
attacks.
an ad
That's
hominem.
it.
I was asking a direct question about his feelings towards me. Is this complicated for you, Peter? Randolph, I was asking.
What? Okay, let's
I'm talking
dig down on that. What exactly did you mean to say when you used the word asshole?
Randolph, were you okay? I was.
What exactly did you mean when you used the word asshole?
Okay, I know English is your second language, Peter.
Was that a compliment? Is that a compliment in your kind of Christianity somewhere? Is that in the Bible? Can we find it anywhere?
As a first language, because I was asking if he thought not he, if he thought.
Okay, so enlighten me. What is the usage of the word asshole? Enlighten me.
Peter, turn the gain down on your mic, Peter.
Okay.
So anyway, Randolph, back to my question. Do you still think I'm an asshole, or do you have slightly less of an asshole than you originally did? What is the?
Have to get the word in.
Peter, shut up! You don't understand the question I'm asking Randolph. He understands.
I'm just pointing out who you are. That's it. Nothing more. Nothing less.
The word
I'm
still.
not insulting anybody, Peter.
John?
That's why you're missing the point.
John, your use of the word still in that question implies that you have this impression that I've always thought of you that way, and that's not the case, as I just mentioned. I don't think that that's the way that's you. I think that communication is a bit of a challenge for you, and I think that I do find that you do resort to a lot of ad hominem attacks. You play gotcha games a lot, and I find that kind of disappointing because I think you have a lot more potential than that.
Well, I find it very interesting, Randolph, that you'd say I play gotcha games when I use words and evidence directly and positions taken by an opponent who further substantiates that, yes, that is their position, and then it's construed to be a ad hominem or a gotcha when it's literally the position taken by the opponent. How is that remotely an ad hominem when it's literally
Let me ask again. What is the usage of the word asshole?
Peter, Randall's talking, please.
You're conflating things now, John. Those are different subjects. When it comes to the debate that we were in, it was you end up putting the topic onto definition of atheism instead of focusing on what the topic was. And 5 minutes would have been fine, but that dragged on for a big part of the debate, which was unfortunate. It frustrated a lot of the audience. I was okay with it because that just meant you had less time to make your case and win the debate. But it's unfortunate that the audience.
So Randolph, I'm trying not to be a jerk here, but you took the affirmative. You were the one that was supposed to make a case.
I did make a case.
And the topic was whether or not atheism was the rational conclusion of skepticism, correct?
And I made the case correctly, yes.
Okay, so
I like how we're talking about other debates now. That's good.
Right,
Actually, this is a good point. We should focus on the topic here. Should evolution be taught in public schools? I think, John, that you and I could talk about this at another time. And for the fairness of the audience and everybody here, we should focus on the topic of this stream. That is a valid criticism.
All right. Oh, that's cool. So I have a big day, or not big day, a long day ahead of me tomorrow. We have all 6 of our kids coming to the house tomorrow, so it's going to be crazy. So I'm going to go.
And somehow, Oz, you're going to find time to join in a debate review.
Hell yeah!
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I have
the one I had with Gavin. Yeah,
I have strategeries. But no, I did want to say thank you to Amy James for having me back on LPP. I put my email in the side chat. If you want to come on our channel, we could talk about religious trauma, mental health, all that. I'd love to have that conversation. And I don't want to go in that right now because I need to go to bed. But we can have that conversation. I'm going to go. Everybody know. Go to tart.live. Our schedule and everything is on there, and we do have a dedicated space on tart.live for those that are going through religious trauma syndrome. They're leaving or have left a religion, and they're suffering the mental health issues that come along that. We have connections and relationship with secular therapists to help walk them through that process, and I'm proud. I'm very proud of that part of our website. So,
Oz, did you
Yeah.
see the 604 Atheists deconversion stream today?
No, because we had 2 streams tonight.
Okay, yeah, you should watch it. He's interviewing a guy who helps people with religious trauma. I think you'll find it very interesting.
Oh, yeah, fantastic. Absolutely will. But nope, go check that out. But like I said, scheduled everything, and we now have our weekly schedule. We have at least one show every single day of the week that's going on, and there's more coming down the road. But yep, thank you guys for hanging out, and I will talk to everybody soon.
Later,
Awesome,
Oz.
Later, Oz.
Night, my friend.
Thanks.
Later, Oz.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
Oh,
And
Amy's back.
so-
What the hell?
And I'm only back for a second because I'm bringing in Snake. I think it's Snake was right.
Wow. all right.
Backstage, having fun.
I gotta say, Amy,
Thank you, Amy.
can't go wrong with Snake was right.
Woo-hoo. Well, it's in the name, right? And okay, so Snake, we have been midnight ranting on should evolution be taught in public schools. What are your thoughts about the debate, or the topic, or anything we've been talking about tonight?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Alrighty. Yeah, I need to check out the debate, but yeah, obviously I think it should be taught in schools. I think the scientific consensus should be taught in schools regardless of what it is. I mean, nothing is going to be 100% absolute confirmed truth ever, but so the consensus is the best we can do. It's the cutting edge of science today, and so students should be learning it. So I think it's just that simple. No matter what time period you're in. I personally think it would be fun to teach creationism alongside biology because it's a fun way to learn biology and geology and chemistry and the stuff that it tries to refute. I think that would be a cool dialectic way of learning things. I could see how it could be seen as a bit of a waste of time. So it probably should be in like comparative religion, stuff like that. Because it's obviously inseparable from the holy book that its proponents align with. And then I guess to kind of comment on the other things that have come from John's addition to the stream, I think it's perfectly fine to be like an armchair biologist, autodidact. Most of the people engaging in these conversations are on both sides. But I think it's a little different when you're going against the consensus, because when you're calling the consensus idiotic, you better have expertise in that field and not just like some self-proclaimed understanding from internet research, which could be good or could be bad. But I guess, as was mentioned earlier, that's kind of exactly how the Dunning-Kruger effect works, where the laymen just don't know what they don't know, so they have this false sense of confidence in the subject matter, because you can't possibly comprehend everything that you have to go through to get the degree unless you've been through that program. I've gone through that in almost every class I've taken. Like, I mean, specifically in physics, I thought that was going to be like way different than the class was. I thought it would be more conceptual. It turned out to be mostly math. But probably should have known that. But again, unless you go through it, you don't know what's actually being taught. But the people who are the amateurs who are relaying the consensus already have the backing of the experts, and so they can reasonably conclude that even if they're missing something, the experts probably are not. So I think it is a little different when you're challenging the consensus as a layman. You better have expertise if you're going to challenge the consensus. And the last thing, I guess, is just to touch on the insults, I kind of think it's just a waste of time. It's rarely entertaining because it's rarely original anyway in the first place. But I feel like it just wastes time because it just makes your opponent mad and it avoids the substantive discussion. I think we could do better just to say how the opponent is wrong, and just not call them like a child and stuff like that. I think all that does is just it's like a self-soothing thing when you're just mad at someone, and I'll slip up and antagonize at times as well, but I think mostly people start trying to describe like avoidance behavior or something like that, and then it just derails from there. So not particularly constructive, but yeah, I guess that's all I got to say so far.
I have a question for you, Snake. I have great respect for what you've done. I've seen you on Modern Day Debate, debating atheism and other topics, and I think you always do extremely well.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
You nailed it so thoroughly and so well, especially the atheism one. So thank you for being a voice in all of that. You mentioned something in your what you said just now about teaching creationism alongside evolution. What did you mean by alongside? Because that kind of seems to me that your follow-up point was a bit kind of clarifying that maybe it should be in a separate class, which I kind of lean more toward. I'm curious if that was meant as correction or if you actually meant it should be taught alongside evolution.
Well, it probably should be in a separate class, but personally, I like the kind of argument back and forth style. I actually learn a lot that way, but I recognize that the class kind of just wants to focus on its own subject matter and kind of spend as much time on that as possible.
I think I understood what Snake was saying, that when you're online and you hear a younger creationist make a claim, or if you're watching a video about it where it shows a claim made by the creationist, and then you do the research to understand like why that claim is wrong, you can learn a lot from that. And I just wanted to say real quick, like I really enjoyed Snake's debate against Kent Hovind. Both of them were really good, and I agree with what the previous person said. But as for insult in my debate, I don't think that I ever outright insulted Kent. I brought up the fact that his ministry is tax exempt, but I didn't try and mock him for his prison sentence or his previous tax matters or anything like that. And that would have been an easy thing to do, but I refrained from that, and I think it was the right decision.
Atheist Jr., I agree with you. I use the same approach in the debates I'm in. I don't drag up personal background stuff when I focus on the issues too. I think it's the right way to go. Yeah.
Yeah, I only talked about what was current, and he had to agree with me that, you know, it is right. But I have seen, you know, Bill Ludlow kind of win at Kent for the taxes, but only because Kent kept prodding him on it.
And I just want to take a moment to think, you know, we're talking about young Earth creationists, but John, LPP, you know, I think as far as mechanisms of evolutionary biology, we tend to agree, other than, you know, the primal, what was the point of Genesis, so to speak, to be kind of a little pedantic of you know, our, you know, whether or not there's a prime mover or not in this whole situation. But the fact that, you know, even though we've had a lot of disagreements tonight, you know, I think generally, you know, accepting evolutionary biology as a mechanism for diversity of life has come a long way from where the, you know, the standard theist position of 1950, we would not have been having this discussion. I mean, you know, so, you know, the debates continued, and we should also look at the positives that these debates have brought out versus just the, you know, they're all my debates to date have been, you know, panel discussions. I haven't done a one-on-one debate, but I gotta, you know, I do want to look at the positives that have been going on, as well as maybe a little bit of the more contentious moments, because, you know, it takes a lot for someone from the minority position, or at least in this group, the minority position is, to come on and weather the storm, so to speak.
No, it's a minority.
Well,
in total, it's a minority.
Well, I think he's saying that to give John credit, he's here. He's the only person that's supporting his position, and he's got 9 other people against him. So
I've absolutely agreed with that, and I've only talked to John, like I said before, maybe on one stream where we had some arguments, but no, Pat, absolutely right. I mean, and what this really comes down to is what all of you have said is, we only use the word science to explain our reality. We have one word and one method for it. If you want to use another word and method, go for it. But don't pick and choose. I believe in this part of science. I believe in this part of science. And then evolution, sorry. Climate change, sorry. This is opinion to me. And I think that's a big problem.
I agree. I feel like you can't go against the scientific consensus and then at the same time use terms that sound scientific to try to appeal and make your argument sound good.
Yeah, and it's a method.
Thing that another thing I'd like to add is that if people are watching this show, you can see that the people in this panel, the majority are atheists, don't need to hurl insults towards the one theist in the room in order to make a point. It's not necessary. It's crippling any conversation that you're going to have, and you shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, and when I'm the only atheist, I don't hurl insults either, and I find most theists don't as well.
I agree. Most theists don't.
Yeah, me too. That's my experience too. But there are channels where apparently that's a running gag, and they find it's funny. I don't think it is.
Well, those channels were popular a few years ago, and I think they were called Internet Blood Sports. And the end result of those, it was not good. Although some of those were pretty fun to watch, but it really crashed and burned.
And again, I want to do a shout out.
This is not
after the debate yesterday, we went on Otangelo's channel. There was one coming in and trying to ruin the conversation. I actually like interacting with Otangelo, and Otangelo and I did have the exact same problem that John Maddox has with me. And what we did is we took it offline, had a conversation, started over. This is how you do things. If you have a disagreement, fix it. Right. If you're not able to fix it, or if you don't want to fix it, that's on you. I'm always there for people to talk to, whether it be off or online. And I'm far from perfect. So I'll be the first to say that I've made my mistakes. We should do better.
As far as evolutionary biology being taught in schools, though, one thing I think a question we should tackle in this stream is whether or not we should have a nationalized curriculum. Because do we allow schools, for example, private institutions, even to get around the requirement to teach it as a science, as a tenet of science? Do we allow some states, for example, the state that comes to mind is Texas, right? Texas is curriculum, Arkansas, those states that seem to water down the theory, so to speak, the science behind it, to make it, basically a parody of itself, so that, children walk out. And I'm not a paleontologist, and I do not attempt to play one on TV. Right. But the biggest concern I have is a college. I teach at a college, so I'm getting first and second year students who come out of high school. Some of them from private institutions, as far as religious schools, and they don't know the difference between paleontology and archaeology, because they think archaeology is about digging up Bible. Yeah, I mean, the paleontology is about digging up the Bible and explaining that paleontology is a field that deals with the ancient past to the the Neolithic period. in archaeology being, you know, much more recent, you know, application of similar techniques and principles, and they can't distinguish between that because of the level of indoctrination they've had. That basically, I'm not saying they're all young earth creationists, but the lack of exposure they've had to the scientific method and critical evaluation makes some of that very difficult.
Yeah, that's another big topic. And overall.
Well,
And the big problem with Texas is that Texas is also responsible for what makes it into the textbooks, because they are the largest buyer of textbooks. So that gets in the way of a good education. Ra has been on a battle with that, and trying to make sure that you get clear science in a textbook, and the field isn't modeled. It's an ongoing problem.
I think you also need to consider you're referring to things coming out of private institutions and such. I think you also have to look at what's coming out of the public schools. I mean, the most recent stat I saw was that 83 or 84% of college freshmen are having to take remedial math.
Right.
And it's a known problem as an employer for people having massive issues with critical thinking and analysis, and being able to have, innovative thought. And not even I'm not talking like a major, like revolutionary perspective. I'm talking about just being able to like analyze a problem and come up with a solution that's not 1 + 1. Like they have to be able to have multiple variable solutions that can be created. And I think that's stuff that has to really be addressed. Like, we can get tied up on like what's going to be in the curriculum, and what's this talking point, that talking point. But I think there's a lot that's being glossed over in relation to, what are the thinking skills that are being taught or not taught. And case in point, a couple quick example of this. It's like 2 years ago, I had an interaction with a group of educators at the high school level, and we talked about a variety of things. And one of the things I brought up to them was, the known mapping that's done of the brain in adolescence for analytical ability, specifically in relation to mathematics. And the very long story short, I found out from them they were being taught as educators that you didn't need to teach the actual logic of solving higher level math. You showed them which buttons to push on the calculator versus actually being able to do the process yourself.
Sure.
And then when you think about like what's the problem, what are we running into in colleges with 80+% of kids having to take remedial math? Well, let's get real. When you get to college level math, you can't just push buttons on a calculator. I mean, you can, but you have to know why. Right. And then you extrapolate that problem to adulthood, and it's like if that neural mapping wasn't happening in adolescence, it doesn't matter if they were able to cram and pass a class in college. Now when they're trying, they literally don't have the skill to apply in the professional setting. And I think that kind of thing is a major issue we have to look at.
Well, I think we need better teachers and more teachers, and I think to encourage that, we need to pay teachers more, because math is a difficult subject to get most kids interested in. So you need really good, dedicated teachers, and I don't think that teachers are getting paid enough right now.
Nope.
And John,
I wanted to jump in real quick. So John, with what you just said, we at least have some common ground. Why not take that and see whether or not we can have a decent conversation? I'm still open for it anytime. I think a lot of atheists are. You're not doing yourself a service with the attitude that you currently have. If there is some common ground, we can have a decent conversation.
John, John, I'll even tag on to that, because you said something that's pretty profound. And I'll even tag on in that, saying that because of social media and because of the internet, that a lot of people growing up don't even really know which media sources, or even if they have critical thinking, which ones to trust, right? When I grew up, I had 3 channels, ABC, NBC, and CBS, to watch for news and trust in. And they were more regulated back then. But now we have literally millions of them. And when ends up happening is you go to the source of confirmation bias, basically. You go to the source of what you want to believe and what reinforces what you already believe. And it's not necessarily the truth. And I think that's a big problem, even for apologists like you, John, in my opinion.
All right, everybody has a confirmation bias. So
I don't. I'm literally never wrong.
On some
I mean,
level, but
just kidding.
In line with the point on education, like for example, like right before COVID, I was actually working on a fundraiser for setting up a fundraiser for the elementary school down the street from my house, because I found out that the testing, only 16.5%, 16.3% of the kids had passed math, or they got a decent score on math, and it's 13.7 in English. Or
Yeah, that's
reading
horrible.
skills. And
Well,
I'm
it's
like,
lower than English.
I'm like, this is ridiculous. And
Yeah. Do you blame the teachers or the curriculum?
Well, I'm about to get to that. So when I found this out, I went down to the school and sat down with the principal, and I was like, okay, so what's the issue? I'm not going to blame y'all. Like, what do y'all need? I'm assuming you have identified the issue, and is there a potential solution? And it turned out that for the last 3.5 years, she had been petitioning the school board for a part-time specialist just for reading and math, because many of the kids in the public school came from broken homes. They didn't have any assets at their house to be able to teach them, and they fell behind, and then it created a spiral effect.
Yeah.
And she showed me a bunch of studies about, hey, if you have the specialist comes in, works one-on-one with the kids, gets them caught back up with their peers, and then they're able to continue on from there, and it solves the problem. So I'm like, okay, how much money do you need? And they needed like 43 grand. And I'm like, that's it? That's all you need is 43K? She's like, well, yeah. I'm like, well, what did the board say? Well, there's some stupid dumbass regulation that, anything you do in this kind of context must be done for all schools across the entire district. It's like, so we need a hyper-specific solution for this particular school. And there's other schools that need the same thing, but like every school doesn't need it. This one does, right? Or, hey, let's do it on a round-robin perspective. So anyway, long story short, I was working on like just putting together I'm like 43 grand for the individual is a lot of money. 43K from a crowdfunding perspective is chump change. And just from a house owner perspective, like, hey, if I can increase the school rating, my property value is going to go up. Therefore, I'll pony up $50. We do it collectively, and presto, you can do the money. And then from a funding perspective, there's federal laws that necessitate being able to specify where capital donations must be spent. So you can do it through general fund, or you can do it, hey, it must be spent for this particular reason. I looked into the legalities of all that stuff and was like, okay, cool. We can make it so that we can give this money to X school, and it must be used to hire X asset. And of course, COVID happened.
You're marking it,
yeah. I'm using that as an example of like, there's so many different instances like that could be used as solutions. And all of these stupid barriers to the equation, and politicians getting in the way.
One thing I think.
Welcome to our great state, John.
Yeah, right. I think one of the things we need to address, and I think John, you'll find this very interesting, is that technology has created not as many, but has created some problems in its attempt to solve others. And one is reading comprehension.
Yep.
The days of reading a newspaper.
Critical thinking.
Yep. So, the fact that we go on, again, I'm just going to say my average high school student, I have kids, my daughter is voraciously a watcher on TV, and I had to make her physically read. It's paid off now because she's doing excellent in college, but reading comprehension is something that technology cannot get around. And actually, there's some preliminary studies to show that as the use of technology in the classroom has increased, other skills have gone off.
I think they really don't.
And for the funding problem, I think the U.S. should probably. Because my understanding is the U.S. it doesn't work like here in Canada, and so what we do here in Canada, like for my province, British Columbia, and all the provinces are like this in territories. There's all the municipalities, like the property taxes, help to pay for education, and so those are all based on the value of the properties and all that. But what
US
happens
is the same.
But what happens is, instead of the municipality going right back to the municipality, all that money goes to the whole province as one big fund. And then that fund is evenly distributed to all the municipalities so that all the schools have the same economic advantage.
Doesn't work like that here, brother.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that here.
Nope.
Yeah,
Not
and
even close.
that's and so this is to prevent poor neighborhoods from being, or poor municipalities from suffering, and so you get more equality everywhere. And that's, I think, if the U.S. had this kind of approach, then you'd probably see a lot less of these problems. But the other part of the problem I see in the U.S., it looks like a lot of people try to keep the amount of tax funding going to public services like education and whatnot to a minimum. And I think that's the other part of that's the part John was talking about with the politicians getting involved.
Yep.
I agree with John on that. That's a serious problem. Politicians are too capitalistic and not socially minded enough, I think.
No, well, that's a whole other topic. But here's the
this is right on topic.
It's not a capital shortage problem. The amount of capital being spent,
it's a distribution problem.
Yes.
Well, no, it's not even a distribution problem.
It is a distribution problem.
Okay, are you gonna let me finish my point? I
Go ahead,
literally
John.
just dove into this in one of the biggest school districts in the United States, which is Davidson County, Tennessee. It's amazing. You wouldn't think that, but it is. It's like 73. Actually, I think it just hit 84,000 kids. The yearly budget's 1.1. Most recent one was $1.17 billion. Right. There was like 117 of that was for the pensions, and then you had like 900. I think it was like 968 in operations budget. Now, the interesting thing is that when you think about education perspective, your single biggest line item should be your human capital cost, right? Well, I went and dove into the budget, okay, and it was like shade over 500 million of a $968 million operations budget went to the human capital side. That's not included. Then there was another 117 on top of that for pensions. So you still have over $400 million left over after you've accounted for your single biggest expense. And yet the school buildings are falling apart. I used to volunteer at one of the alternative schools and like taught kids chess and stuff. And I go in there, and the teacher I worked with, I mean, the school was falling apart, literally. I mean, the roofs were crap. They had window AC units, and he had computers that barely worked. I mean, it was a joke. And I'm like, so I've got you have almost $500 million left over after your single biggest capital expense, and you don't have books. You have a book shortage. BS. Anyway, I started diving more into the budget, and you start looking at different things, and you're like, where is this money going to? Where's this money going to? And then you find all of these no bid contracts and just crazy crap going on that it's capital waste is stunning. The principals would be starting side businesses and granting themselves their side entities the concessions contracts. I mean, it's freaking nuts. And you just look at all the money being wasted. The same premise is happening in school districts across the United States. And it's like, it's not that the amount of money on paper isn't there to theoretically give our kids great education, and the teachers, there should be money to pay the teachers more money.
Right.
It should already be there because it's already being spent. To put this in context, there's only about 1,000 companies, publicly traded companies on the planet that have more than $1 billion a year in revenue.
Right.
And that's production costs, product production, you have taxes, way higher overhead, higher salary rates, all this kind of stuff. And somehow these companies are managing to maintain profitability. And entities like a school district with $1 billion a year in tax-free revenue is not being able to maintain something as simple as books for kids. And to me, this is where the corruption is so rampant that we have to look at, creating some alternative competitive options. Otherwise, the solution's not going to be remotely plausible to be done. We just my taxes, the property taxes in Nashville just went up 34%. And what was the foundational argument? Oh, we need more money for kids. Our schools just aren't doing well enough. And magically, the council passed it. Boom, 34% tax increase on property. And guess what happened? The school board came and said, "Oh, we're going to have a shortage." And they needed like it's 138 million, I think, emergency transfer. It's like, what do you mean? You ran out of money again? How? How did you run out of money? You didn't improve anything. Where the hell did the money go? Anyway, not to go off a tangent, the same logic is happening, the same concept is happening across the United States.
Yeah.
And it's not being addressed.
Welcome to our great state.
We need to raise taxes.
Yeah, I've been thinking about, not thinking about, I'm planning on moving from California, where I live now, to Tampa, Florida, because of my company. And one of the biggest issues that I'm like worried about, obviously, is climate change and whether the entire state of Florida is going to be flooded in 50 years. But on top of that is,
well, California will too.
Not really. We have higher elevations. So I mean, Florida is and Louisiana is a state that, you know, there's states that are super low. Like I think the highest point in Florida is like 40 feet above sea level. I believe that's true. And just looking at science, not even science, looking at city planning, Florida's only own state planning predicts 8 feet of sea level rise within, I think, the next 50 years, which would cover a lot of the state. And so one of the things I'm looking at is that the house insurance rates have gone up tremendously. Like, I mean, your insurance is now instead of like $2,000 a year, it's like $4,000 or $5,000 a year. It's going up tremendously because all of these people realize that this is going to happen. And you know, I agree with you, LLP, in a lot of places, in a lot of your points about just how we're using money in general for everything, whether it's education or whether it's infrastructure, is pretty perverse at this point.
It's 345 feet, by the way.
And we can
keep
345?
It's 345 for Florida?
Snake was trying to say something earlier when I spoke, and I just want to make sure we don't miss that. Maybe Amy introduce that person and let Snake talk after that.
I think Snake is actually second to do his outro. So what I'm going to actually do, I'm going to switch me out for Speed, and Speed is going to do an outro intro. He's going to start us off for our outros. So I'm going to remove me, and then let us start. Woohoo! And I'm handing it over to you, Speed. I hope you had a good time listening. And what are your final thoughts for the night?
Hey, anyway, this was riveting. Got me right out of bed. Anyway, let's see. I just want to say something to John Maddox. I would like it if you and I could put up our spurs and hang up our guns and have 1 or 2 sessions together where we just talked about a particular paper. We're both highly interested in information and biology, and it's kind of something we're both into. A lot of other people aren't, and I think it would be nice if we could pick a paper sometime and agree to, drop the ad homs and drop the animosity, which is mostly show at this point, and get together. But if you're interested in doing that, I think it would be productive. I think we'd both learn something. So we're interested in the same papers. So anyway, so I got that. And let's see, we have done some work on Is the Cell a Machine? We read a couple of papers by Nicholson. We're reading one right now, Is Not a Machine. And we do some other interesting paper trails things. And we get very few views when we do, when we dig into the papers. Tonight we did something on information and biology that was actually expired by John. So I think it got like 64 views or something like that. But I thought it was nice and productive, and it would be cool if people check that stuff out if you're interested at all in this controversy. So that's about all I got. That's my intro, outro. I have a channel. I have a
Thank
channel.
you so very much. I think, John, I feel bad if you left by accident. Come on back, and you can get an outro. If not, then it was good having you on.
Sorry, I think Speed was still trying to say something.
No, I was kind of done. I just said I have a channel. Please subscribe. Anyway.
Answers in atheism.
Yeah, John probably left because me and him in the same room never works. I don't know.
Hold on 1 second. He's back. Switching
Okay,
myself
good,
back
good.
up, and we're moving over. Snake, you are.
Okay. Yeah, I was just gonna say a couple things earlier. I definitely think there's obviously some funding problems, and politics is a whole can of worms. But in my experience, I think it's really more the teachers than the curriculum that make a difference. And I'm not trying to put down teachers, but like with my experience, I hate math. Like I really just dislike math. I kind of like watching other people do math, but I hate it. But I had one calculus teacher, and I'm not sure exactly what she did, but I kind of started to like calculus the way that she taught. And so I do think that we need to work on that a lot. I think American students are falling behind in education. And I think a lot of it's just a lack of interest. They don't see any point to a lot of this stuff because they don't feel like they're going to use it, or they know that they're just kind of doing busy work and they're not really being helped through it very well. A lot of it's just homework, and ironically, we're expecting a lot of kids to kind of be autodidacts. We go to class, explain a little bit, and then say, "Oh, just read out of your book." And sometimes that's not enough. And another thing I wanted to say about schools is I don't think they go teach very well about source methods, which I think is enormously helpful for just everything, just being able to detect fake news just in any context, really.
Critical thinking.
The critical thinking skills definitely needs to be a class on its own. And I guess that kind of leads into the main topic, which it's about the methods that we use. Critical thinking is a method. It's not telling you what to think, it's teaching you how to think. And in a lot of ways, science is like that. It's not so much as a what, but a how. Science is much more than just like a collection of knowledge. People talk about it like, well, science says this, science says that, but it's more about what science does. And so it's a method of how we gain knowledge. And so even assuming there are major flaws in evolution, that is the current state of the science right now. The method is giving us these results, and these are the results that should be taught. As soon as we make progress with this method, then the progress will get taught, and we see that we're adding to it all the time and all the time. What kids learn in school looks a lot different from decade to decade, even year to year. Usually it's not overturning anything. Usually it's just building upon what we already know, but we're already taught that there are gaps in science, that we're always filling these gaps. I think that the problem is that woo peddlers and religions want to try and fill those gaps with their little pet philosophy. And I think that's where critical thinking skills can come in. There's always going to be gaps in scientific knowledge, but we should just teach what's currently the best information. And I thank you guys all for coming in, and Amy for hosting the show. It's a wonderful show. So, yeah.
Woohoo!
Well, I guess I'm next.
Yes, thank you so very much, Snake, for being here. And Pat, you are up to bat.
I just want to say thanks to Amy for having me, and everybody else for being here. I've enjoyed talking to all of you. I enjoy these conversations. This is where I'm going to walk away from my science background for a minute as a modern human. I do want to, my current field of study is archaeology and history, and I think that it's important for us as a social species to recognize, since we've started congregating in civilizations for the last 6,000-7,000 years, religion has been a fundamental part of our societal structure, and it is going to be the default state for quite a while. And I think as atheists, we have to realize that there may be a social societal construct that basically leads people in a social context to having a fascination or wonderment with what we call metaphysical or supernatural, a supernatural realm or supernatural causal explanation. And I think that for us as atheists, and I'm in the minority, we're in a minority group now, have to realize that we're moving against a societal and social norm that's maybe ingrained within our societal fabric for quite some time. So we might want to be a little more compassionate as we try to help people come along to realize what we believe to be the most rational worldview. And again, thank you for having me. And it's always a fascinating subject to talk about. I greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here, Pat. And okay, we are moving right along. Randolph, we have been midnight ranting on should evolution be taught in schools. I hope you had a fun time. And what are your final thoughts?
Oh yeah, this is always such a joy to be on these streams. You always host such a good conversations. My opinion hasn't changed. Evolution is definitely appropriate in schools. As I said earlier, here in Canada, it's taught starting from kindergarten, very basic ideas, all the way up to the end of high school, and so it's it's a normal part of education here. That goes without saying, but I understand that in the U.S. there are groups that are trying to have creationism put on an equal footing, which to me doesn't make sense, because creationism seems arbitrary in the context of the religion that it's sourced from, whereas evolution is a discipline of science that's got many different perspectives and different angles of evidence in support of it, and there's so many different ways to look at it. It's designated as a scientific theory. It's so well established and has been corrected over the years too, and when new information comes along, and because that's the way science works. Whereas what I see with creationism is it is not open to change. It is doctrinal and by nature. So of course it is not flexible. It is very stubborn, and the people supporting it will certainly try to explain things and interpret it in different ways, but it's not reproducible. It's not consistent. It's not reliable. So that's where the big problem is, and that's why I see it as inappropriate to put it on equal footing with any scientific discipline. It belongs somewhere else. So that's just my view on it. As far as the outros go, my name is Randolph Richardson. I'm the president of the Canadian Atheists, which you can find out more about at www.canadianatheists.ca. Thanks for including the link there. We're also promoting, one of our mandates is to see atheism normalized in Canadian society. We hope this catches on around the world. Oz, who was on earlier from TART, is one major proponent of this campaign, along with many other people, and we're grateful for that. You can read more about this at www.normalizeatheism.ca. The idea is that where somebody can say in public that they believe in a deity and not really get any backlash for it, and people accept it as a normal thing, we want for atheists to receive the same kind of treatment, instead of derision or concern that we're going to burn in hell or whatever. We just want to be accepted in the same way. So what we're asking for is for people to do less rather than more. And we think a gentle and straightforward and easygoing approach is the best way to go with this. So that website talks a bit about that. I also have a YouTube channel at www.youtube.com youtube.com/Randolph Richardson. And do remember, please, Randolph is spelled with an F, not a PH. Thank you very much to everyone in the audience and everybody here we've been conversing with today, and especially Amy for hosting this, along with James. Good night, everyone.
Thank you so very much, Randolph. And that brings us to, I would say, we've had 2 or 3 favorite theists of the night, but John, LPP, we have been midnight ranting on should evolution be taught in public schools. I hope you had a good time. Where can people find you, and what are your final thoughts?
If you want to come to my channel, just search Logical, Plausible, Probable. Come right up. In the context of the discussion tonight, glad we were able to overcome our initial confrontation. Hopefully have a little bit of rational dialogue. In relation to the evolution in schools, I don't have a problem with the concept being put forth. I think that new components of it need to be, and the issues with it need to be put forth in a this is proven beyond all doubt perspective. So, I mean, for example, and this is where I find it very interesting that Atheist on the stream in the closing statements have talked about the supposed rigidity of a creationist or intelligent design perspective, when nothing could be further from the truth. So, for example purposes, adaptation through the equivalent of real-time machine learning is exactly what we're observing in biological systems. The fact that that can happen and create, variable outcomes exemplifies high-level technology. When you look at the flexibility of phenotypes, if you look just as a comparison technologically, and you think about what a responsive website is, 15 years ago, you have a mobile version. You had to create a completely separate CSS classes and HTML now, or files. Now you can account for it in CSS5, in the latest HTML5 and CSS3, and then different things that are available to you now. And you can have things hide based on different pressures, screen resolution, demand, etc. With programming expanding, we've got API connections. You can have widgets that are installed but aren't activated until a specific time, or you decide you want to use it. You can switch things around that are pre-existing and create something that looks completely unique, but it's dependent on pre-existing technology and programming. And in my opinion, that's exactly what we're observing as further discoveries are made in biology. Those things are exactly what is enabling what has been viewed as quote unquote evolution. I think those things have to be taken into account, and for those who just buy into it blindly and don't actually go and look at those things, understand the concept, and contemplate the macro level ramifications to the foundation of their theory, and what is the more rational conclusion for its underlying necessities, well, I think we won't actually go anywhere in real conversation, especially if it's nothing but anything else means God of the gaps, or a flip side of obsession with naturalism of the gaps. So I just hope that everybody keep their minds open and take the time to think and not just accept what they are told. I find it hilarious that I hear ad nauseum from YouTube atheists that, it's all the consensus. Well, the consensus crumbles on a regular basis in science, and people look back and wonder why they ever thought whatever the talking point was. So just keep your minds open, think for yourselves, and whatever conclusions you reach, make sure they are logical, plausible, and probable. Amy, thanks so much for the great night and the fun stream, and I hope you have a great rest of your weekend.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on.
Amy, I just want to object to the term YouTube atheist because it is often come across as derogatory. We're all atheists here. We're not specifically YouTube atheists, as the term does come up. So I am just objecting to that term.
I'm a test tube atheist.
And okay.
I think we're going to do merch with YouTube Atheist on it. Just like a shirt. It says YouTube Atheist, yeah.
Did everybody hear what the doofus Randolph Richardson just said?
Yes, we did. We heard him.
And okay, we're moving
Newman,
along.
focus.
Thank you, Dark Doc.
Jerry.
I
And
just want to
soldier
go
of
one
science.
fucking day without hearing his voice. Is that possible? Just one fucking
Not
day.
around here.
We have been midnight ranting.
Where did Speed go? One of his friends just jumped on here, clapping while he was talking.
His intro was his outro.
Speed, you need to come back to get your raccoon. You left your raccoons there with Peter. You know he's got a lot of squirrels there. It might not be so good. For the raccoon.
If he's going to leave it here, I'm fine with that.
You'll have it there for him.
Pet them.
He
I
feeds
know,
raccoons.
soldier of science, we've been midnight ranting on should evolution be taught in public schools. I hope you had a fun time. What are your final thoughts?
A few. So great to see Pat. You're my eighth subscriber for sure. I think your last comment about humans having to believe in the supernatural is dead on right, and I would even say community, because church provides a lot of community that maybe.
Hey, someone's echoing pretty bad.
Yeah, someone's echoing. Hello. Okay, better. Great. Okay, so I would even say community as far as churches are concerned. That people can't replace that. Rando, awesome. Nice to Randolph. Nice to see you, Nick. You said some great things. John, even you. Maddox, even you. Probably the only time I was on your stream before we had a bad go of it. But for me, honestly, I know you're a far more intelligent person than I am. You're far more read than I am as far as biology, as far as current events, as far as all of these things. And I know you're breathing hard here, but it's hard for me, someone who doesn't have the IQ as you, to come to the conclusion that a God could not exist. And I just want to add in the last thing that you said about, you know what, since we can see all of these systems, these biological systems that seem like machines, therefore it must be programmed, and therefore it must be an intelligent being behind that. What happened? Okay, so to me,
did somebody die?
Yeah. So to me, that is kind of a weak argument, because really, you're coming from the 2020. You know, hindsight is 2020. You could be in 10 dimensions, and you're a 3-dimensional being that does not realize the other 7 dimensions that are going around you. But the dimensions that you do realize, you've given a definition to, and then therefore said, this must be programmed because we can recognize these definitions. And so that design argument for me, as a former Christian, I was a Christian for 40 years. That argument to me is it's kind of ridiculous, because you're basically saying that, you know what, I don't understand how a snowflake can be designed, and therefore it must be programmed. And I've given the attributes to the snowflake of it's got to be a machine. Or you could say that to any other process or any other biological process that currently exists. And 99% of those biological processes, which are animals, don't have a consciousness to then therefore say, this must be programmed. And the last thing that I'm going to leave you with, Amy, because you know this is what I do, is you guys were talking about a mental health issue. You guys were talking about a mental health issue, and this is important to me because my fiance's brother just passed away today, and he passed away because of chronic depression. He literally stopped eating. He stopped eating. And so that hit me hard, Amy, when you guys were talking about mental illness and that this is a real thing. So yeah. I'll give you 30 seconds. Love of mine, someday you will die, but I'll be close behind. I'll follow you into the dark, no blinding light, with tunnels to gates of white, just our hands clasped so tight. waiting for the hint of a spark. And if heaven and hell decide that they both are satisfied, illuminate the nose on the vacancy signs. There's no one to zone when your soul embarks. I'll follow you into the dark.
Thank you, Soldier.
Thank you so very much, Soldier. And that was.
So I think he's trying to say that there's a magical snowflake creating genie who designs all the snowflakes.
That's what I'm saying.
The music was an excellent touch. That was really, really nice to listen to.
Yes.
Thank you.
Randolph, have you ever heard Mr. Batman sing?
No. Do you? I hope you're not recommending it.
I wouldn't
you do
recommend
Brothers-
it, but yeah.
Can you do Brothers on a Hotel Bed, or do you know that one? just kidding.
He's like, I'm taking requests now.
Sounds like a party.
No, I'm not. I'm not.
And okay, we're moving along. Bird, we have been midnight ranting on should evolution be taught in public schools. I hope you had a fun time. And what are your final thoughts?
I did have a fun time. This was interesting. Yes, evolution should be taught. Now, with all that being said, I'm going to apologize to LPP. I did the thing that I hate the most, and I was a bully, and I apologize. I've been on his stream one time, and I got treated like shit, and I thought it would be the fair thing to do to him, which is not my rule. I don't like to do that, so if he's listening, I'm sorry. That won't ever happen again. So, with that being said, this was a very interesting debate. Atheist Jr., I think you did fucking amazing for your first time, and you went up against the heavyweight because Kent Hovind is a heavyweight. And with all that being said, thank you so much. You're beautiful. I love everybody.
Thank you, Bird.
Thank you so very much, Bird. And I agree. I think, especially since, was that your first public debate ever?
His first one. Yeah.
My first debate.
Yeah.
Against Kent Hovind? Oh, you did amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my goddess.
Yeah, he did good.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
I was punching above my weight.
Keep on doing that.
That's how you
I've told several people this was his first debate. He's going against a guy whose job literally is debating and has been doing so for decades.
Debating.
And
Debating. Yeah.
Yeah, well, debating. And here's the thing, and people underestimate that. You can disagree with Hovind. What you cannot disagree with, that he is a very good debater. He has developed his skills over the decades, and while you may not agree with how he debates, he gets along very well, and he has been able to stump atheists in debates. So taking that into consideration, and taking into consideration the amount of time that AJ put into preparing for this, apart from the help that he got, he did an amazing job already preparing before anyone else jumped in. That's something we, I think, need to take into consideration when we're going to judge a debate like this, because I think he did awesome.
Yep.
And I would just like to say that Kent didn't even know what the topic of the debate was 2 days before it happened.
A day before it happened, he didn't know.
Yeah.
He just says the same stuff every time, no matter what. Anyway.
Doesn't matter.
Well,
yeah.
AJ and I both were watching Hovind, and he mentioned the upcoming debate, and he did ask around. Even his secretary didn't know the topic of the debate.
Did he have his earpiece in this time?
I don't think so, but I didn't hear him get any answers from the crowd this time. I don't think.
The peanut gallery?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is 45.
Yeah, he had people in the room while he was doing the debate because they were cheering him on, and you could hear them in the background. So, yeah.
I mean, he is like a con man. He is good at it, but that's his job, is to muddy the waters and try to confuse people. And
People did not come from rocks. Okay, rocks did not breed humans.
Do you ever see a dolphin give birth to a dog?
What's the genetic code of a rock?
Yeah.
And
literally,
so
no one has ever said. Sorry, Amy. Go ahead.
No. I'll actually. It's a good idea. I'll put Atheist Jr. and Kent Hovind's debate on Standing for Truth's channel in the description. If you'd like to see what we've been talking about.
No. Put the one on AJ's channel so he'll get
the link to his channel.
Really?
He'll get the views.
Okay, absolutely.
Yeah, he mirrored it.
I even made a fancy thumbnail.
Good for you.
Sounds better.
Newman, focus. Newman, listen to me. You're a grown adult.
You're grown.
If
You're
you look
grown,
at
Newman.
the views, if you look at the views on Standing for Truth channel, it's about like 4,000, and then on Kent's it's like 6,000. Now there might be an overlap of some of the people there, but that's just adding them. That's about 10,000 people that saw my debate, and there was lots of comments. So it's kind of, I've been I'll save for what I'm going to say for my outro.
Well, keep in mind, this is why I think you should still debate people like Kent Hovind. It will get your name out. People will look you up on the internet, and maybe you can make people think that's what it's all about.
I told Matt Powell that I will debate him, and he saw my comment. So we'll see.
Nice.
And so here should be the link for Atheist Jr.'s own channel. So go check that out.
Thank you.
I thought you were debating his secretary, aren't you? Or was that not?
His soon-to-be wife, probably.
No. I thought you were going to debate like his secretary guy.
Why would I do that?
I could have swore you said you're also going to debate someone else.
No, I think Oz or somebody else misinterpreted what I said. I was saying that I had called Kent Hovind's secretary, and she set up the debate for me. And
okay, maybe that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah, he misheard that as.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Focus.
Yeah, FUCUS. I get it.
I mean, I'll debate her if she wants.
Well, Amy, thanks for doing this though. Really, it's a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
I have a total confession. Hopefully, you'll edit this off the end of it. But
we'll save it for the private chat.
Yeah, save it for the private chat.
If you don't want it on here.
Yeah, all right. Let me know when we go. Yeah.
Oh, hey, I'll leave that up to you. But okay, we are moving down, and I think so. We had Bird. So then, Jason, we have been midnight ranting on should evolution be taught in public schools. I hope you had fun. And what are your final thoughts?
You're muted.
That's okay. I've done that about a half dozen times today.
Look how his background lines up with his shirt.
You're still muted, buddy.
Still muted, Jason.
Oh, I'm still muted. I'm sorry. I thought you guys were talking to somebody else. So, like, oh, am I not? Nobody can hear me.
He thought he was on LPP's channel, and he would have got muted anyway.
I muted myself halfway through because I didn't want to keep screaming at him. And anyways, okay, so great session tonight. I appreciate coming on, Amy, and I thought that from Atheist Jr.'s performance was great. I thought that he again was very articulate in his position, and obviously, in terms of the evolution being taught in schools, I certainly think that that's the case, and kind of associated with a lot of our topic tonight. But I think that supports this issue of evolution in schools, that the concept of what I think Maddox mentioned briefly, I think in a maybe in a different view that I'm thinking, is the importance of scientific consensus, the importance of being able to evaluate the preponderance of evidence across a wide range of experts, as an example with evolutionary theory, to make decisions on what we're going to do at large scales. As an example for teaching evolution in schools, we want to use scientific consensus. Does that mean that science isn't going to change its perspectives? No. I don't think that's going to happen with regards to this evolutionary theory that has a huge amount of support. But obviously, science, the way science works is if there is other evidence which may push us in a different direction, we want that. So if Maddox wants to go back and get a degree and start writing peer-reviewed publications that support the opposition, I would encourage him to do that. But if he's going to attack that consensus without necessary background in it, I would suggest to reconsider that. He certainly can continue to learn. I'm not saying that he shouldn't be doing that, but to call people idiots and to question that consensus position, like I think Atheist Jr. has already mentioned and Pat has mentioned, is not, I don't think that's an appropriate thing to do. And so anyways, I'll just end it at that. I really appreciate being on tonight with everybody, and I'll look forward to seeing you guys at a later time.
Woohoo! Yeah. Well, thank you, Jason.
Thank you so very much, Jason.
It sounds like when they do that, it sounds like a high school physics student going up to like Neil deGrasse Tyson and Michio Kaku and telling them they don't know anything about physics. They're dumb.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't mean that somebody like Matt, they can't. It's not like he can't read up on stuff. I want him to do that, but But in actuality, the more he reads, just like with somebody who has an advanced degree, the more you realize how little you know in a particular topic.
Right.
So you're somebody who's on so-called Mount Stupid of the Dunning-Kruger effect. You have a huge amount of confidence in your own abilities, but you have very little knowledge. So
Jason, okay, use your head. Okay. There are literally peer-reviewed papers that say this, okay? Literally, okay? Use your head.
He's working on his John Maddox impression.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, that literally was really good. Literally. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You need to practice his questions going something like
he's gonna trash. I guarantee he's gonna trash me. He's gonna go on his site and he's gonna yell.
Be that smug.
If you're imitating John Maddox, you need to practice this phrase that he uses all the time. Is it logical? Is it probable? Is it plausible?
Yeah, and you have to change the tone into more
condescending
papers on this, and so I don't get it why the atheists
you got it.
Read those.
And Peter, it's
like
good
this
that you're
paper
talking.
on Infowars.com.
She wants you to She wants your outro, Peter.
No, hey, you're talking. So how are you, Peter? We have been midnight ranting on should evolution be taught in public schools. I hope you had fun. And what are your final thoughts?
Oh, I've prepared. For this. So first of all, someone earlier mentioned something, and Darth, do you know what it was?
Go on to Answers in Atheism.
No,
exactly. Yes, no. This was a good tip. This was a good tip. Go on to Answers in Atheism. Speed didn't get the link out, so I'm putting that into the side chat for everyone to check out. It's a great channel. He has great shows, so that's my plug for Speed for so far. Back to the topic. I've volunteered to help AJ with any upcoming debates as to how we can stream those on his channel so that he can get the views for the work that he does and doesn't have to go on someone else's channel. So we'll see where we get. I love the debate. I love the points that he brought forth. especially the ones that he came up with himself. And that alone shows me that he has looked at a lot of Hovind videos, which is kind of excruciating, but some people just do it, I guess. I'm one of them. We need more debates like this. We need more people in the community taking on those big names, if only to further our own cause, because people will check us out. And I, for one, I really support AJ in everything that he's going to do. And we need more people like that as well. So I'm going to end on one thing that I saw that has premiered on AJ's channel. I just made it public on my channel. So I'm just going to really, really push my point.
Wow.
Woo-hoo!
That's
Wow,
great.
that looks serious.
That's a good
Okay.
video. Yeah.
That was my shameless plug. So we can have AJ have the last word.
Woohoo! And that's perfect timing, because AJ, thank you so very much, Peter. But we have been having a midnight ranting inspired by your debate. I should be pointing down here. By your debate on should evolution be taught in public schools. I personally think you did awesome, and hearing from the results, I think you are in similar company. I hope you had fun tonight. Where can people find you, and what are your final thoughts?
Yeah. They can find me. First off, evolution should definitely be taught in schools. I maybe should have put in science class in the title of the debate, but didn't want to make it too long. And I really can't minimize how much Peter has been helping me, not just with the debate, but with my channel. That intro that he just showed, he made that for me. And that is the second intro that he made for me, because we both decided that the first one didn't really work for my channel. So he made a second one in like 2 days so it could be in time for the debate. And I messed up when I was uploading the debate to my channel, and I tried to put the new intro in front of the debate, but it got screwed up when I was exporting the video. So I just uploaded it as a channel trailer, which I think it works really well as that. And I just wanted to thank every person in the stream: Snake, Pat, Randolph, Nick, Soldier of Science, Bird, Jason, Oz, Speed, James, and Amy, and everyone in the chat. And thanks to the people who gave me, compliments on my debate performance, and like I said, the people who helped me prepare for the debate. And if I could just say one more thing: get your vaccines. Vaccines don't cause autism. The Earth is not flat. Human-caused climate change is real. The universe is expanding. Chemtrails aren't real. Nuclear power is safe. Trans rights and LGBT rights are human rights, and all cops are bastards.
Okay, I don't know about that one. Going in on that.
Thank you so very much, Atheist Jr. And I think, like I said, if that was your first debate and that was golden, then it's just platinum from here. Woo-hoo. And okay, then we are moving down. James, have us land for the night. We've been midnight ranting on should evolution be taught in public schools, and I want everyone to remember to buy my DVD.
Buy my DVD.
Yeah, I mean, Kent Hovind's probably burning the debate on DVDs right now to add to his store. So, yeah, great conversation tonight. Thanks everybody for coming on. We had a full house for well over an hour, almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's great. A lot of enthusiasm about this topic. A lot of people really like the debate. Enthusiasm about a channel. And yeah, if you're not going to teach evolution or you're going to teach creationism in school, you might as well teach flat Earth because that's about
and anti-mouse.
Yeah.
And
anything because if it's like the equivalent
and iridology.
Creationism is the flat Earth of biology. Yeah.
Like I said before, we only have one word and method for how we explain reality. We don't have different methods of science. We just have one.
Right.
That's it.
Magic.
It's all the same principles applied to different things will lead you to the right result.
Magic.
Yeah, that's all they really have to offer is magic.
But it's
Don't knock magic. I teach a continuing education class on magic and witchcraft. It's fascinating. It makes me a lot of money. So let's.
Do you?
That makes Kent Hovind money too.
Just so the chat
God
doesn't get mad at me,
exist.
I was kidding about the cops thing. I wasn't being serious. I don't want.
I'm relieved because
people.
I have applied for auxiliary RCMP work.
Yeah.
All right, good to
It's a
know
volunteer
that. You're off my shit list right now.
I'm sorry.
We're not a political channel. We don't ban it, but we try not to get too political.
Who would not want
I
to
love
be a
everybody.
Royal Canadian Mounted Police? You get a horse and you get a flying squirrel. I mean, who does not want to be that?
Me.
I'm fairly sure that is how you fight crime. You got a flying squirrel and a.
That's it.
On Mooseback.
Hey, Rocky Bullwinkle here.
That's exactly what I
I
thought.
gotta tell you, when a criminal sees a moose and a squirrel running for him, they're scared.
Fuck yeah! You seen how big a moose is? Shit.
Yep.
I'm out.
What's going on?
Yeah.
And okay, guys, I hope you all had a fun time on this episode of Midnight Ranting. Should evolution be taught in public schools? Where we had a fun conversation about teaching Darwin's theory within our public school system, along with the religious creationism that often goes toe-to-toe with the science. I want to thank James W. and our special guest host, Atheist Jr., with our regular guest hosts, Peter, Oz, Jason, Bird, Amaretto, Soldier of Science, LPP, Nick, Randolph,
LPP.
Pat, and Snake. Hey, he actually joined. We always are
L-
like Christians, join the channel. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I know. We've been doing this for 5 months, and finally we got him.
I just got to get Darth on here now so I can ask him questions.
Oh, no.
I know he's been in the streams, but he was just always lurking.
Amy,
He would never say
Newman,
anything.
focus.
You got someone sleeping in the background? I just noticed.
Oh, that's Amaretto. Amaretto.
You know how you can get John Maddox back is you got to come up with a song saying, "You down with LPP? Yeah, you know me. You down with LPP? Yeah,
No.
you know me." Oh,
No
sorry.
thanks.
That hey, son.
Kumbaya, my lord. Kumbaya.
Sounds like a rap
Wow.
project, a rap challenge
That was-
for Oz.
Not the soundbite I expected to be coming, but okay.
That's it. I'm gonna get that clip of Mr.
Right now,
Batman
you have spiritual rabies.
Spiritual rabies?
Spiritual genital warts.
Oh, wow, he said some interesting things.
The Darth Dawkins clips makes this channel by far.
That's what happens if you don't get hit by Amy. You'll get spiritual rabies.
Amy, I have to do a shout out to Sigma NI. I hope I'm pronouncing that well. He just got me lots of Darth Dawkins sound clips. So thanks for that.
Nice.
Oh, your collection.
People will hate me for this.
Did everybody hear what the doofus Randolph Richardson just said?
We did. We heard it.
Right here.
You're
Now,
a buffoon.
Now, does this count as fame or?
Listen, you're a buffoon.
I'm not really sure if this counts as fame or infamy.
Ooh, a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Yeah.
Best of both worlds. Okay.
Sounds intriguing.
Exactly.
Have you been
Where's
drinking?
Otangelo, Peter?
Have you been drinking? Are you on drugs?
I would like to have a role play.
There we go.
I also want to thank all the lovely people in chat and our awesome mods who make this so great. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that all button icon so you could be part of our live streams on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. And if you'd like to help make more awesome content, feel free to check out our Patreon at patreon.com/Amy Newman. I'm Amy Newman, and we will see you all on the next episode of Skeptic Ballsy. Good night, everyone.
Woo!